Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning to you.
First is to review and approve the agenda with changes.
I'll move.
Warren?
Do we have to add that?
Add what?
No, it's on there.
Oh, okay, good.
It's on the back.
Second.
Seconded by Gary.
No, there was a back.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. On to the consent items. There's just the two.
I'll move.
Paul?
Second.
Thank you, Warren. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're kind of going a little differently this morning, so John, take it away.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
I got a few things here.
You haven't been here for a while.
I haven't been here for a while.
He's making up for it.
What's that?
You're making up for it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm paying for it. All right, first thing is legal services agreement. It's just an engagement letter with the firm of Hush Blackwell law firm. They have an attorney down there specializes in solid waste. I've worked with him on other legal matters on behalf of the association, Solid Waste Administrators Association, when I was president back in 2005, 2006. He drafted the model ordinance that a lot of the counties in the state, including Polk, used as the boilerplate for their local ordinances. Has done work with several of the other counties in the region and solid waste groups, including the Otter Tail County, the Perham Resource Recovery Facility Group, so Otter Tail, Wadena, Todd. Also, I believe he's worked with the Polk Douglas Resource Recovery Group, Polk, Douglas, some of the counties down there. I did talk to Greg about that to make sure weren't stepping on any toes. He was aware of everything, and he was supportive of it. He obviously acknowledges he doesn't specialize in solid waste, especially contracts and ordinances and things like that. So, but we have a number of things coming up in the future, both for Polk County and the region, that I believe are probably going to be relying on legal services, and having someone that deals with this, has extensive history, and I think would be beneficial for us. So I did bring this to the Solid Waste Advisory Group. It's actually July now, so earlier in June. For some of this, we're looking at some regional ordinances, contracts, things like that, and also dealing with the extended producer responsibility law that was passed in summer 2024. So there'll be plenty of things coming up in the near future. So that would be my recommendation, is that we would engage that firm to work on our behalf.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move.
Warren?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next item is a billing issue we have. We sell in Boston, we burn waste, we convert that to heat, and then convert that to steam and sell that to 3 steam customers out there. One of them is Minnesota Dehydrated Vegetable. We base the steam we sell out there is a formula that uses the price of natural gas as the base, and then we bill based on the volume of steam that they consume or that they are given, provided by our facility, through a network of steam lines. Last summer, there was some irregularities with the the billing, MDV went to calibrate their meter, and it was determined to be obsolete. They couldn't calibrate it. So they went to replace it. They ordered a new one. When it came in, they got installed. By the time it was calibrated, a number of months had passed. In the interim, we had been billing off of a formula that had been used in the past that at the time was deemed reliable. Because they share a steam line with specialty products at the north end, what they did is they looked at what was leaving our facility. They deducted out what we thought was line loss, which is based on that formula we've used in the past, and then deducted what was sent to specialty off of their meter, figuring the difference is what went to them. That's worked in the past. It's probably been a while since we've had to use it. And it's never been used for a long period of time. This is talking about 8 months almost that we were doing this. So you're going through the seasons, and especially when we got to spring, we could see some major differences. We could even see it on our end, just in the sales. We're seeing sales much higher than what we would have expected. So they have asked that we come back and adjust that. When they got their meter calibrated in, we could see a very big swing in things. Now, how big of a swing is kind of speculative. We know the steam line running out there, the insulation on that is compromised. So when it gets wet, obviously the insulation has less insulating properties. You get more line loss. And I think that's what's causing the big issue. When it dries out, it's more accurate. Again, it wasn't really meant to go for 6, 7, 8 months of billing. So they've asked that we look at that bill and make some adjustments on it. I did bring it to the advisory board because we're talking about refund or a credit, something like that. They seem to be supportive of doing something. They didn't provide a direct direction, but I wanted to bring that here, make sure the county was aware of it, because it probably should be something indicating what that would be for and why. So my opinion is that it would make sense that we would look at that and address it. I just wonder if there's any guidance from the board on how far back they wanted to go. Whether you want me to calculate that and bring it forward, or if you want me just to handle it.
Give your recommendation.
My recommendation would be just have me
Handle it. That's, I agree.
deal with it, unless you're going to get really into the minutia of it.
Fine with that.
Yeah. And, and I guess, my thought that day at the meeting was, like splitting the difference, but I don't know.
Well, that's what I need to know, if that's what the board wants to do or not. Whatever you come up with is going to be an educated guess.
Right. Yeah.
It's just,
I just say take care of it. John. You are the most expert at it. You do it, and then tell us what you did, and that's the way it's going to be.
okay.
That's how I feel.
Okay, you want to make that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Paul and Warren. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Next item. We did our stack test for the resource recovery facility the week of April 21st. That's a full-blown stack test. We're required to do that every 3 years. As long as we're passing, you only have to do that every 3 years. The year 2 and 3 in between would be your what they call RATA, the relative accuracy and testing audit. It's basically the equipment that we have online taking readings continuously. You're testing to make sure those are accurate. So when we're submitting those reports to the state, they know that they're good. We got towards the end of the test. We were doing the dioxin furan run, which is basically the reformation of hydrocarbons after combustion. There's certain temperatures at which dioxins want to reform. We're tested on that. It's a very expensive test. It's really kind of difficult to predict why you get the the levels you do. It has something to do with the amount of carbon we inject, something to do with the temperatures, where it's at in the process, the HCl readings, the acid gas readings we get, and particulate. So it's kind of a multivariable function of that. The test takes a long time to get back. So we're told by the testing company everything looked good. They were just waiting for the labs back on the dox and furan. It came back about 2 weeks ago, and indicated that everything looked good for Unit 1. Unit 2, the first 2 runs looked very good. And the third one, we hit something in there and it spiked badly. It spiked about 3 times higher than our historic spikes during the test. It was so high it pulled us over the federal limit on the average. So I had to file the notice of deviations, what they call it, which is basically the notice to the state that we failed on one of the pollutants that we're required to measure. We've had to negotiate with the PCA on that. We have to, it's a non-compliance, so there'll probably be a fine associated with it. It says in there the fines are based on what actions we take and how quickly we react to it. We're unaware of any breakdown. The units, everything in the unit performed flawlessly, even going back after the fact and looking at it. We don't believe it was mechanical. We believe it was something in the fuel, the process waste that got through, which makes it really hard to make any adjustment and go forward. So in talking with our testing company, they had an opening. We actually started the test yesterday. We're testing today, testing tomorrow, and wrapping up on Thursday if all goes as planned. So it's basically less than a 2-week turnaround from the time we filed the notice with the state, we got the final report, to when we're testing again. It's pretty hard to go any faster than that. We had to push back our outage that we were going to take, so that's actually going to happen next week now on the units to do some of the maintenance on there. So we're moving a lot of things around right now. So that's just, nope, I didn't scroll down here. Apologize for that. So right now we're gonna wait and see. Again, that's gonna take 2 months to get those results back after we're done. So we've had some issues even doing this run, getting it going. We finished the last run last night about 8:30, 8:45. So we got 5 more to do, 2 today, 2 tomorrow, and 2 today, 2 tomorrow, and then 1 on Thursday, if all goes right. And then, of course, assuming we pass, next year we'll have to do this again. The year after that we'll have to do it again. Assuming we pass those, we go back to every 3 years again. So that's where we're at. Again, we've tried to process the fuel, the waste, try and look for any of those irregular things. It's most likely something in a garbage bag you can't see.
Right.
It's hard to slow the plant down slow enough that you can see all the garbage bags and the waste goes through there relatively deep on the conveyor belt. Now we do have that grant we got from the PCA last year that will go in, should be installed here in September. And one of those is for a bag opener. And so this problem shouldn't be there post that project. That
So
doesn't
it was
help.
something that got burnt that
Yep.
sent your levels.
And because it's this intermix of different things, you don't know exactly what it is. PVC is notorious for it because it's got the vinyl chloride. It's got the chlorides in it. That's your HCl limits. If you had something that had a lot of particulate in it, that went up, our system downstream might catch it, but before it gets there is where you're measuring the dox and furans. So that's where it could have formed. It could have been an interruption in the temperature. We had something really hot go in there, but it shouldn't have. And our readings we're actually regulated on that, so we know nothing went in there that was hotter than it should have been. So, yeah, it's just bad luck. That's like, and it isn't a good thing to tell the state. It was just bad luck, but you take 3 snapshots that represent how you process for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know what's happening at that moment in time. So
So is the federal level lower than the state limit?
the federal is lower than the state. Almost everywhere else, the state has to be more stringent than
Yeah.
the federal. So, yeah, the federal is 125 nanograms, and the state is 500.
Mm-hmm.
The limit.
It's likely just one item that got through this waste stream.
One slug of something. I mean, someone could have thrown a couple bottles of bleach out or something, and it just in a bag, you wouldn't see it, and it goes through, and bleach is a chloride. A big
Mhm.
slug of PVC pipe or something. But again, it's how would you get that through? So
Yeah.
it doesn't seem logical, but when you eliminate all the other things, that's really the only thing you come back to. It's the only thing that really changes.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happened, and we just have to deal with it. So.
Yep.
Just hope for the best going forward.
So the next one was for information. The next one is actually getting the testing company up. So to go through and do that test, and then we're doing an engineering test. So we're dropping the temperature going into the ESP a little bit and seeing if that has a positive impact on the dioxin furan formation in there. That was a part I was talking about. If the heat would have changed, we're limited on that, so we actually read that in real time, so we know that didn't happen. But we'll try and drop that temperature a little bit to get further away from that 4 to 450 degrees where that formation seems to happen. So we'll do an engineering run afterwards since they're up here, and so the price to do both of those runs is the $26,685. And then they have an hourly rate in there for any additional time. So if we're broke down, bad test, something like that happens, and we have to extend it, which does happen occasionally, the price would go up obviously from there. They don't give you a refund. So I was looking for a motion to approve their quote for doing that work.
So moved.
Gary?
Yep. Second.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one. Oh, you got a squeaky chair here. Go through their proposal. Okay, the June 20th disaster. Not what we needed right after we found out about this. So we had the windstorm that affected the region, affected every one of the counties in our 6-county group and some beyond it. Polk, I don't think got hit too terribly hard. I mean, it was a windstorm. We've had windstorms before. It's not that it doesn't do damage, but it's nothing outside what we normally get with a windstorm or whatever it is. So in that regard, we're relatively okay. I don't want to step on Jody's going to be up here in an hour oh, he's not going to be up here.
The threshold for emergency.
Well, I thought he was still coming up to say that.
Wow.
We took it off, crossed it out in the
Okay.
Yeah, well,
I've been working with Jody, so we will probably have expenses that would qualify for it, but it's weird because the expenses would be really as a result of the other counties, not Polk.
right.
So Polk declared, Jody and I had a long conversation about this yesterday. So that we would declare a disaster for dealing with the other counties, but not ours,
Right.
didn't make a lot of sense. So I have to find a different mechanism for handling that with those counties. and that's kind of where we're at. So we knew Beltrami got hit hard. North Hubbard got hit
Yep.
fairly hard. It's been a pretty fluid situation. We expect, lack of a better term, kind of a tsunami of waste to come in.
Mhm.
How much of that has to go to us versus that they can handle? A lot of it's going to be tree debris, but then if it gets mixed with other things, it's going to have to go to our landfill.
Mhm.
Depending on how overrun they get, how limited they are on resources, that could be a very large amount, or it might not be too terribly bad. They don't know.
Right.
I did contact the state. I think has been discussed at the board previously for the last few years. We built a landfill cell 15 at the landfill last summer without the state permit. Waiting for them to process it. They still have not processed it. We got permission late last fall to put in the required frost protection. So you have to have 6 feet of material over the liner. Otherwise it's susceptible to freezing and cracking. You lose the integrity and you have to redo it. We got permission to do that only, but not put waste in there.
Mhm.
Looking at the possibility that transportation would be a bottleneck. We didn't want to have vehicles, contracted trailers, including our own that runs between the counties, sitting in line at our landfill waiting to dump.
Mhm.
So I went to the state and asked for permission to put waste in cell 15, even though they still haven't issued the permit.
Right.
I did get an email stating that we can do that in response to it. The person that's kind of the point person for disasters at the PCA is very good.
Okay.
She's been working with Beltrami pretty closely on trying to eliminate a lot of the bureaucratic roadblocks and red tape and things like that. So, we ended up taking in, I want to say, between 20 and 26 loads of spoiled food in the first 2 days after the storm, that Monday and Tuesday. So all of your grocery stores, all your restaurants, all of your residents lost power, gas stations, anywhere they had a freezer, refrigerator with stuff, that was all spoiled. They had to get rid of that immediately. So we did have that big rush, and then it just dropped. So we had been looking at doing things like, and this will bleed into the next one, but extended hours, running on Saturdays, trying to match up with their services. Well, after we got through the first couple of days, then it dropped off. They're back to tree debris is their big thing. They can't clean up properties until the insurance adjusters have been out and do things. They can't tear down damaged structures, things like that, where we may see that. So we've stopped running those long hours until they start seeing that coming in. So they don't know when that's going to be. It could be, they could call us tomorrow and tell us they need us to be open, Wednesday through Saturday. I think they're running 12-hour shifts right now, 6 days a week. I believe they're taking the 4th off, but I believe that's it. So that's kind of where we're at. I just got an assessment from Hubbard. Their north area got hit hard. It's mostly tree debris. They're not anticipating a lot of that's going to be coming our way. Again, kind of fluid, but that's where we're at with it. So we'll probably have to, this kind of the information piece, but in here, I'm just looking for the approval to lease equipment, provide assistance, modify hours, whatever it is we need to do to react to what they need to get them going. We are their service provider, so.
Right. Yeah. Like the food waste, was that able to be put in the compost or?
No. I didn't think you're gonna have too many people wanting to open up 5-day-old
Yeah.
meat or something like that that's been at room temperature is going to be pretty ripe. The state actually approved them just going ahead and wrapping the refrigerator, the freezer entirely and throwing the entire thing in our landfill.
Oh, wow.
Just for that reason. Once you start getting that rotting food in there, you can't get the odor out. No one's going to want it. No one wants to be the person that has to clean it out. The county staff don't, the resident or the business doesn't want to, and we certainly don't want to. So that's what they'll do during a disaster, is those mitigation things. So yeah, they just put a couple of straps on it so it doesn't open up when you're handling it. And you just haul it in whole.
Mhm.
Normally appliances don't go in
Right.
the landfill.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at. I've been in contact with the state people, uh, in contact with Beltrami, mostly their solid waste
Mhm.
person. I did talk to Craig Osvig, their board chair, also.
Yeah.
Dealing with that. I know Jody's been in contact with them, so
Yeah.
we are kind of tied to them. But again, it didn't make sense to pull Polk into a disaster declaration to deal with what's really another county's major disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Brian has been overloaded because like we had a AMC solid waste meeting last week, and I mean he was trying to be on there, but then he was also
Yeah, he's got 3 people standing behind him, 2 emails and a phone call all at the same time. So.
yeah.
But they're setting up temporary sites around the county, taking the wood waste. You don't have to transport it all the way to Bemidji or Black Duck, and just trying to get that immediate response. But we have our shredder out there. Hubbard has their shredder out there to handle some of that wood waste. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I know their big thing is funding. If I think they're looking at the cost of doing the actual cleanup, even at 25% local share. If all that gets picked up is a 75% state, I think they're worried about how they fund the 25%. So,
Yeah, because it's going to be big.
well, I compared when I was talking to Julie, it's like a flood. Only the waters in a flood recede, and then you can see the damage. If it's a flood of trees, the trees don't recede. You got to actually spend a lot of money to remove those, just to find out what was damaged underneath there. So,
Yeah. It was pretty flat. Okay, so then we need a motion to modify our operations. Okay, so I need a motion.
I have no idea what I'm motioning for, but I'll do it.
Oh, I think that's you'll.
You're gonna run it.
Yes.
you're just giving me the authority
Yeah.
to modify the hours, days, and what we
Okay,
need to do.
all right.
Yeah, you do it.
Yep.
Yeah. go
Okay,
ahead.
so you're making that motion?
I did.
Okay. Warren and Gary, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, no, I've had to do it because it's an emergency,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
still need to.
Yeah, I
Bring it for
understand.
approval.
Make it
You gotta
official.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Go for it.
it's-
I feel bad for you. That's a bad deal.
I feel bad for them.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah, I mean, it's just like someone just took a steamroller and just, I mean, and a lot of those trees are pulled out by the roots and a lot of building damage.
Yeah, it was all over, but
Mhm.
it's really concentrated there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. A day or 2 days later, other than seeing the stumps sitting there, the trees are gone from a lot of places. It doesn't look like much. Even if you drive into Bemidji, off of Highway 2, coming in from the west, other than a tipped over pine tree by a parking lot or whatever, you don't notice a whole lot of difference. All the restaurants are open. It's busy. Then you get closer to the lake and you can see
More
just
damage.
how bad it is. And because the magnitude of it's so great, they haven't gone nearly as far yet. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I was there that Saturday afternoon. And I mean, it's, no power. I mean, it's.
Yep.
Okay,
So, any
Well-
other questions or anything from me?
just do what you need to do.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Want to go to your forum items?
Yeah, I suppose we can. Gary, you want to start?
Yeah. My committee meeting in the last 2 weeks was the Lake Agassiz Regional Library. We're still working on the budget, but we're looking at or did a approve at least a preliminary of a 5.15% increase.
Mm.
But with the formula for Polk County, it's 8.6%, approximately $28,590. So we'll see where that goes. We're still dealing with the rental agreement
That's what I was
for a
wondering.
while. And that is not settled yet. That's an agreement with the city of Moorhead. The cost of the square footage, the term of the agreement, 5-10 years, probably just as important, the yearly increase that they would like to see. That's a lot of dollars. When we're also proposing $250,000 from our funds to offset the cost of the furnishings. So we'll see. We're looking at other options of places to go, and going back again to the city of Moorhead City Council and see if we can get the cost of that rental agreement down. But that was it. That also in Crookston also has a cost too involved in it too.
Mhm.
You know, the other 4
Yeah.
libraries are included in the count. Crookston has
They're separate.
they're separate, and
Is East Grand Forks separate too?
No,
East Grand Forks is not.
Okay.
not involved at all.
Oh, okay.
So that complicates things a little bit. But yeah, Polk County is being asked. I'm not sure if you've received a request.
I usually, yeah, I have actually, just,
Right, it would be $334,230. The city of Crookston is being asked for $256,380. That's dollars.
How much is an increase? That-
The 5 point, it's a formula, so it's a little complicated. But the Laurel budget will increase to 5.15%. Okay? And most of that is the increase of salaries was significantly low with others. So that got moved up. And then, of course, whatever our rental agreement, I think we were paying $4.50 per square foot. But we had more square foot. We wouldn't really need it there in the Moorhead Library. And I think the city of Moorhead is requesting $18 per square foot for the new place. So we'll see. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. That's all I have. Oh, I did want to compliment the staff on the Polk County Board of Appeal and Equalization. I thought they did a very good presentation. We don't end up with a lot of county taxpayers, but a lot of information was available. And I'm assuming this is probably on the website if people want to look at it. And then, of course, we did have a few individuals appeal personally.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that meeting was also recorded. So
Yes,
in order to see the PowerPoint, you just go to that meeting.
they did a nice job with that, keeping it rolling.
Warren.
Okay, had an NPO meeting, had a couple of them, and we're dealing with the replacement of Stephanie Halford, who's submitted her resignation. She's and her husband are moving to Colorado, where he got a new job. He was once employed by Polaris, and then a reduction of staff there. He lost that job, and they went to work for an engineering firm in Grand Forks. And anyway, they're both from, well, she is at least from Utah, so this is kind of a getting closer to home type of situation. Um, there's, she's being very, which I say, open to hanging around till you get a new person in place. So there's no need for an interim at this point.
Mm.
And we do have at least one person on staff who I'm assuming is a candidate. She was a candidate previously when Stephanie was named. So I don't think there's any big issue there, but we'll see how that works out. Then Pine Prairie Tax, no, the Area Transportation Partnership meeting was scheduled for Thursday of last week. That was canceled because of lack of business and lack of membership. So I don't think that's going to be replaced, but that's it. So I have Northwest Regional this afternoon and a radio board on Wednesday next week. And then also Pine Prairie Task Force on Thursday, the July 10th. So
Mm.
not too much going on, and well, that's okay on July 4th weekend.
Mhm.
That's enough from me.
Okay. Paul.
West Central Water District, it was, I thought it was a very good meeting yesterday. They covered a lot of stuff. They went through their process of, once again, determining how they come across from Halsted, you're across the border to Halsted. Thought all of that was good. They have a good plan. It all boils down to funding and where the state and federal government comes from. And then, and it was a nice, brief hour and a half, not 2.5. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, it was beautiful. And then I had, about a month ago, it was on my way to the last West Central meeting. I had a person who I called and we talked about if he would be interested, him and his son, they farm between Fertile and Beltrami, and he's just a little younger than I am, and he's partially retired.
Mm.
But he goes away for he goes to Arizona, but he knows how to run a computer. He can join meetings. But I asked him because I was in hopes that his young son would maybe in the future, after he gets into it, he would take the spot once things really come along.
Mhm.
And he called me back on Saturday, Friday. And he says, I'll do it. And so that was great. His name is Paul Ingelstead, and he's a farmer between Fertile and Beltrami. And I told them about it at the meeting yesterday, and they really wanted somebody in that area because it's a future area of focus.
Mhm.
So I was happy that he called and agreed to do it. So I'm looking to appoint him, and today if we can.
Yep.
And then Lucas will get in touch with him and get them all up to speed, and I'll get him a couple copies of the last couple meetings. And he's very interesting, very intelligent person as well. So that's I would like to appoint him. Do I have to make that motion then, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Paul Engelstead to the West Central Regional Water District Board.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the appointment of Paul Engelstead, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay,
Thank you. That's
Yep.
what I got.
that's all you had. Okay, so when our the DAC in Foston, when we decided to merge with Productive Alternatives Inc. from they're kind of like Fergus Falls, Alexandria. I was nominated to continue representing the East Polk DAC on the PAI board. So I had a board training over in Foston in regards to that. And then I had a AMC education training meeting, and we just kind of went over some of the past trainings and things that have been available and the numbers, and attendance has been really good on some of the offerings, and we've had waiting lists and opened up another session and then still having a waiting list. So, things are looking really good there. But then we did spend some time discussing the possible merging of the education and training committee with the research committee, because they're both, kind of similar, because the a lot of what the research committee kind of comes up with, then the education and training committee puts together, the needed trainings or offerings. And, so it was kind of, um, the pros and cons of that. And I mean, it's still going to be looked at further. And I think now with adding Jessica to the staff is definitely going to be a positive for that going forward. Had Soil and Water District. They're still kind of in limbo with. I mean, like now they know where they stand with the state funding, but federal funding is still kind of questionable. And then I had the AMC Board of Directors meeting, and we had a couple people presenting from the Minnesota Management and Budget division. And, I mean, most of, the discussion is on the Medicaid possibility for cuts. But I thought one thing was interesting that for federal awards that Minnesota receives, now this is just for what comes to the state. It doesn't include like something that comes from the federal directly to like the local entities. But for fiscal year 25, there were 687 awards, and they totaled $22.9 billion. So that's that's a good chunk. So, but and just kind of, kind of like maybe working together a little bit, because a lot of these shifts that are being discussed at the federal and that were discussed at the state, come down to the counties. And so, they go through the management and budget,
That was
departments.
600?
Hmm?
600 divided by two some billion?
687.
Wow.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like, I think MDH, that 50 or 60% of their funding comes from the federal. So, I mean, it adds up quickly. But then we also had a long discussion on the county dues. And the finance committee, we had met and quite a few times and looked at changing the formula, because like probably Laurel, it's a very complicated, nobody understands how, but just simplifying that and using the dues numbers that were paid in this year, and then working off of that. And so the finance committee, we had proposed a 5% dues increase, which, kind of took into account, what's happening at the federal and what could have happened at the state level. But there was actually a motion to increase the dues to 8%, which for some counties doesn't make a huge difference, but for there's a couple of the metro counties that it really increases them a lot, and that's kind of too why we wanted to keep it at that 5% because it was fairly, you know, uniform across the board. Nobody had a real high, you know, uptick. But then there was a vote taken, and the 8% passed by 2 votes. So, you know, the board members were pretty split on that. And then we've got, we actually have our board retreat now coming up in August. And then I went to, there was a public hearing in Foster in regards to MnDOT proposing to take the stoplight out. A lot of good discussion. I think that the residents brought up some points that MnDOT had not considered. You know, so they did admit they have to look at, you know, re-examine things. And they said if need be that the project could get pushed back from 27, you know, and there's still a lot of discussion there about, you know, the 3-lane versus the 4-lane, and you know, there's just a lot of things going on, but both Mark Johnson and Steve Gander were there. And then I went to Alexandria for the PEI meeting, and you know, it's a learning curve because they do things differently, and even like with their health insurance that they provide for their employees, I think it's a 70-30 split or something like that. And you know, it's so, you know, discussion of, and then they also do kind of like almost like a profit sharing for, you know, the employees at the end of the year. Looked at maybe changing how that's done and doing something continually through the year, you know, just picking a number that they're going to, you know, turn back to the employees, and then just, you know, go from there. And then I had, then I was in St. Paul for the AMC behavioral health meeting. This is the first one that we had in person, and it was just a really, really good meeting. You know, we're just, you know, talking about what, I mean, there's so many issues, and there's the lack of the resources, there's a lack of beds, and there's a lack of providers. But someone had brought up that, you know, you look at the VA, their buildings that, you know, they've put together with, you know, their housing. And so, you know, they've been able to figure out how to handle, you know, something similar like to what the behavioral mental health is looking at. So, I mean, we do have a model to kind of form, and to like of, you know, maybe looking at revamping buildings that are currently already built versus always building something new. But you know, just this was supposed to be the end of our phase 1, but the consultants, you know, once they kind of put everything together from this meeting, that we might have another phase 1 meeting possibly, but then now we're looking at phase 2 and expanding the people that are involved in this work group. So it's, you know, there's a lot of work to be done yet. And then I had a AMC solid waste meeting, and we had a lot of people from MPCA that were presenting that day. And, you know, they all, the one thing that's, you know, there was, you know, discussion on permitting, and I thought it was interesting that MPCA, they did say that they're willing to work with the counties and make changes. So see how that goes. But one thing I thought was interesting with the solid waste planning, like in regards to recycling, the rural areas have a 10-year plan, and it's their percentage goal is 35%. And the metro area is a 6-year plan, and they have a 75% recycling goal. So I thought, but they've got the recycling opportunities are, definitely more available there than they are in the rural areas. And then even kind of we talked about like the sell by date or best by, dates that are on different items, and that they're not necessarily, that doesn't mean that they're bad, that they can still be used or eaten, and just because I think there's a lot of waste that comes from that. So
I think it's a marketing thing.
yeah, so so it's because the object is to try and cut down on waste. But okay, I think that was enough for me. Okay, let's see. Dana?
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
So our resolution for this year is the same that we've had every year. It's just the Office of Justice Programs require us to get board approval to execute our grant. It's the same amount we've gotten for a number of years. It's $105,000 that supports our victim service program. It covers about 75% of our budget for the victim service portion of the county attorney's budget in whole. So it is a significant amount of money for the county to provide the services. Just a quick update this year, we just finished our grant quarter. Today is the first day of our fourth quarter. So our grant runs the October through September. And we've already served 415 victims this year. Last year, our total for the year was 498. So we're projecting that we have been a lot busier, but we will have been more victims served than we have last fiscal year for us. So there's definitely a need. We sadly stay very busy with just the two of us there, and this grant helps be able to provide those services to victims.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Paul and Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Yep, thank
And
you.
just Greg wanted me to give you an update. I did get an update from Can Do Canines, and we should have our courthouse dog here in August.
Oh,
That's good
So
for you.
yes, so we're very excited. It's kind of been a very long process and a lot of like waiting for a child, but yeah. It's when you're older, they're like our children, right? So
oh
Are you
yeah.
gonna bring this animal for a visit then next time
I
you come?
sure can. When we get it, I can bring it to a board meeting and get a hold of
Good
Ashley.
plan.
So yeah, we're very excited about it. So last fiscal year, OJP had some additional one-time funding that they gave each program. And so we had some additional funds that we've been able to use on different things. It was not allowed to go towards personnel or salary. So we actually got approval to use it for the things we needed to get on our end for this dog. So we're all stacked and ready to go. And
You have a homeowner?
so I'll be the primary handler. So it goes home every night with me. And then Erin Thody is the secondary handler. So if I go on vacation or I'm sick, she'll take over dog duties to take the dog back and forth to the office and do what's needed with the dog.
what's
So
the breed of the dog?
we're pretty sure it's a lab. So they don't give us a lot of details till they've actually brought the dog up and matched us. But we have been told they're pretty sure it's going to be a really good fit. I mean, the amount of questions they go through, both about myself and the other handler of our home environments and home studies, as well as the office and what makes up our office and the people in them. She's pretty sure it'll be a really good match. And so it looks like it'll be a female.
Oh, that's
Um,
what my next question.
Yep. So all I know is right now it's a female and it should be here in August. And just the majority of their dogs are labs that they use for this. And so when I talked to my contact there at Can Do Canines, they had stated it will more than likely be a lab, but that was months ago. So that hadn't changed at all. So.
Is this the same firm that the county sheriff's department deals with?
No, so this is a particular, the county sheriff uses dogs for tactical purposes, drug detection and whatnot. This is trained as a service dog, basically, to work with victims. They're trained for to work with people with anxiety and PTSD,
Okay,
specifically to sit with victims, in courthouses at the feet when they're testifying for victims. We could use them for if a child needs something a little more with forensic interviews or things with law enforcement. So we can use it in many different aspects, but it's trained specifically to provide that comfort, reduce anxiety and trauma for victims. So, yeah,
okay, good.
very different pieces, but we have everything with that. And I've been working with our canine officer and with the policy things, so everything's kind of set for
Okay,
when it comes. So,
Exciting.
all right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we've done the Paul Ingalls issue then.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Was Rich coming in?
He is 35 minutes from now. Are you from the MPO?
Yes, I am.
I'm trying to find your name.
Terry Kuba.
Terry Kuba is here. Stephanie is not able to attend. Do you want to switch? Move ahead. to
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
I'm just here stepping in for Stephanie. I'm a senior planner with the MPO. I've been with them for several years, as Warren has mentioned. It's like I'm here for questions that you guys might have about the requests that we're giving you. That's before you. I can give you a brief update of kind of the things we're doing. What the MPO basically is that we are a federally mandated agency. We actually get federal funds, 80%. And so we are required to do transportation planning. So all transportation planning, whether it's bike, ped, roadways, freight, it kind of falls under our umbrella of planning. And it is planning. It's not, we're trying to work with everybody, counties, cities, states, as well as working with our federal partners to make sure we get the meet the requirements that are needed for, so that your engineers can go out and build this and they don't have to worry that when they're applying for various federal funds, we've provided them the planning documents that the feds are looking for when they have that information, when they start designing and actually building. So, but Polk County has been a partner with us from the very beginning of the MPO. Our particular MPO was established in 1982. So it's been a long partnership, and we want to, as everybody knows, costs are all the costs across the board are going up, and so we're just making sure we're in the position to actually maintain the type of work that we do throughout our MPO area. It's not just inside the city limits. Our MPO borders do reach out into the county itself, beyond the city limits. So, but I stand for any other questions that you might have, or
Terry, if I can jump in,
Mhm.
Chair, we, we can't find that we've actually had dues to pay in the past.
Correct.
So why now? And is this something for 2026? Is that we're on a calendar budget year, you're on a federal budget year?
We're actually
When is it due?
we're multi-year. We've never asked for actual dues in the past. That's in the past, everybody has always kind of go, oh, it's the city's perspective, and we've focused a lot in the cities, but we do always make sure that we're looking at all our MPO boundaries. So we've never asked for it in the past, and as I said, we work on a calendar budget as well. Our MPO does, but we always have to align with state as well as federal budgeting sessions for federal funding purposes. So this is a new thing that we're asking. We are asking it of Grand Forks County as well. We're hoping that for a recognition of the things that we do, not just inside the cities, but in the counties as well. We want to work more closely with the counties.
Are you asking for dollars from cities in our county?
The cities the city of East Grand Forks and Grand Forks have always met. We receive 80% federal dollars, and it's expected that another 20% is put in locally. And that local part has always been at the cities, the city of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. Or Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. And so we're just trying to make sure that it's recognized that we do some of our work in the county.
At Crookston?
We haven't done any work inside of Crookston. They're not technically in our MPO boundaries.
Okay.
Fisher would be the closest one that we could bring into our boundaries, but like I said, we would be looking into with some of the views that the federal FHWA especially is having. We are considering looking more closely at our MPO boundary planning area boundary. Right now, the farthest out it goes is definitely encompasses US 2. Yeah, I should have brought a map and given it to you guys, but it's not, it's fairly close, but we still get outside of the actual city limits of East Grand Forks.
I think Warren had a question.
Well, what is the dues? How much dues are the cities paying?
They're paying the full, each city pays 10% of our full budget. And then if depends upon like the specific projects, if it's not encompassing the whole of our MPO area, they are, if it's more focused on one city or the other, then that project, they would be paying the full 20% of the cost of that project. Whether it's most recently the one I was most recent, Bigland Road study was one of those where it was only focused on Bigland Road inside of East Grand Forks. And so we helped to try and plan out that corridor. We worked with the area, we did public meetings and things like that for that project. But the city of East Grand Forks paid 20% of that, the full project cost.
Significant. significantly more than the 15,000 that you're asking from the counties.
Yes, yes.
But it will only cover outside the city limits and outside of East Grand Forks, and it doesn't go all the way to Foston.
Oh,
No.
Mm-mm.
no. It includes the, what's the name of the bridge we're talking about?
Yes.
The South End Bridge
Well, the
or
rural bridge.
the rural bridge?
Fairfield?
Merrifield,
Merrifield.
yes,
It includes, the territory includes that.
yes,
So it's out, what, 5-6 miles, whatever it is.
yes.
So like you mentioned that, you provide like, like planning the documents and stuff. So
Mhm.
has the county ever do they use, or do you ever provide documents to the county for?
So far in the past, we have not, but we've worked more along the lines of MnDOT. I think the biggest focus in the county would have been our Merrifield Road feasibility study, and that one's pretty old. That was predates me actually. And but as we constantly work, we're also working with the cities and the counties on their raise grant. They were trying. I know the application for the raise grant. We've been working with them, supporting the documents and things like that need, as well as data. We also do traffic demand modeling for our whole MPO region. So we are access, and there's tools that we can use. I don't know if there's corridor studies, intersection studies outside that are in our MPO boundary that can be used, definitely. We've never been approached. I don't know if that's one of the things we often wonder is like, is it just not something is it that you feel that you aren't needing that, or if you're just not, you're relying on your engineer to do those planning documents on top of the design and all of that. So, but we wanted to make sure that we could entice more interaction as well. As people say, it's like, am I getting a bang for my buck? And we want to make sure that if we're asking this, that we're gonna be able to do that as well, and we feel that we can.
Well, we're just beginning our budgeting for 26. So
Mhm.
thanks for the information.
Yeah.
Yes,
We'll see you.
and we're always open for more questions if you need it. So
Okay. Anybody
Sounds
else
good.
have any questions?
No.
Okay.
well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to take a break?
Good.
I suppose we could.
Let Rich know we're running. Jasmine,
Yeah.
I don't want to take a break, but I will.
you don't have to. Rich is here.
Yeah, he's right up.
Oh,
But it looks like he's on.
Hold on, mine is full.
I'm gonna take one. Is Mark off on some medical appointment or something?
Are we on break?
Wow.
Maybe. No, I can see perfectly fine.
So
Whether you want me to see is the other question.
were you a bad boy?
Well, I could give you three choices. You could pick which one you want. I could either say that my wife hit me because I said something stupid, which is plausible, or the administrator hit me because I asked for a big salary increase, which is plausible, or I got hit by a golf ball. So you got one of three choices.
Well, I'm sad for the last one. There's only one plausible one.
I don't have to hit anybody.
I know.
Just have to give him the look.
Just give me the look. Yeah, I get the stare. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, good
Back.
morning.
Yep.
Morning.
Good morning.
First item is our broom from 1950 finally broke and we can't fix it because we can't get parts. And so we need to replace it. So Randy went and got quotes from the local dealers, and the lowest responsible quote is Titan Machinery at $15,147.20. So I need approval to award the quote to Titan.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't in your budget.
Wow, and I can save that much just by, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Gary and Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Our County Road 202 and 203 projects are final, and so we need board approval. And so the original contract amount was $1,188,227.37. The final contract amount came in at $1,268,566. Just a little, there was extra work done over the one swamp that when we went to do the subcut, the material underneath it was bad. So we did some extra subcutting out there and some extra work. And so that's basically the only reason why we overran. So I need a motion to approve the certificate of performance and certificate of final acceptance and allow the administrator and myself to sign the final voucher.
I move.
Paul,
Okay, I'll second.
seconded by Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
So this is back to the discussion we had when I came and asked
Mhm.
for the request to advertise for 2 employees that had left. We've actually hired 1 employee. They're not starting until July 15th thereabouts. So we've got 1 back on board coming the middle of July, but no experience in engineering technician. So we'll be starting off and learning quickly. So we do need a little bit of help on our CASA 46, talking with Darren, being able to pave a new roadway takes a little bit of expertise with making sure the pavement goes down where it's supposed to, the contractors doing what they're supposed to, making sure all the radiuses and stuff like that into the township roads and stuff like that get done correctly. And so we would like to contract with Stennis for that project. I estimated probably 160 hours worth of work, so about $17,600. Could be less than that, could be slightly more than that, but that's what my estimate is. So I'd like approval to do that and a motion to contract with Stennis Specialties Incorporated, Thief River Falls, Minnesota, and allow myself to sign the agreement between us and him.
All in one motion?
Yep.
I'll move.
Okay, Warren. Looking for a second.
Second.
Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
You were at the meeting in East Grand Forks for the ditch redetermination. So just so you know, we had two, one in Euclid and one in East Grand Forks for basically that northwest part of the county. And a lot of good feedback, not a lot of people in dissension with doing a redetermination for all the county ditches in the area. And so Mr. Holy, if he would have been here, he asked me the question, well, are we going to have any more? So we've done all the Sand Hill River Watershed District ones. We've basically taken care of the a public meeting for the ones up northwest. Question is, do you want to do one for the northeast part of the county or the ones for the ditches around the Mentor area, McIntosh area, since there's very few ditches in either that would even be, well, there's very few ditches in the Mentor McIntosh area, period. And so, I mean, you're dealing probably with 5 or 6 ditches at most. And then the ones up in the northeast that haven't been redetermined with State Ditch 61 and JD 72, there would be very few left up there as well to redetermine. So do you want to hold public meetings on those 2 areas, or do you want to just know that they would get taken care of in the order they are and move forward in the future, near future, on having discussions about redetermining benefits countywide?
Well,
It's up to you two, because it would cover your 2 areas. The earliest another informational meeting would happen would be late August, early September, the way Brian was talking.
I only had one call, and he was opposed to it, of course, but I don't. After we talked in depth about it, I explained to him, I says, it sounds like you just don't have a complete, full understanding of how the redetermination works. And he was great with that. And I says, you know, one thing you can talk to, Rich, you could talk to H2 overviewers,
You know,
and they explain it so well. And they make sure that you go to those meetings where they explain it.
you know.
So, and he was okay with that thus far. So we'll see what develops.
So who was that?
It's on my phone. I can't
Okay.
remember the name.
Oh, yeah, send it to me, because I'm getting the presentation that we gave in Eastside and Euclid.
That'd
and
be great.
And I can email it to anybody. So,
Be great. I'll text you
So-
with that. Yep.
so if there is questions in the near future, that's one way to take care of a lot of the questions.
I told him, I says, you should watch this. The presentation explains it to a T, because he was wondering, well, we're the only ones that are being charged. And I says, no, you're not.
Right.
Every person is going to pay their portion of
Well,
it.
it's not just the ones that are currently in the benefited area, but it's those that get added to the benefited area.
Exactly, and
because
that's
they
what I
haven't been
explained to
getting
him.
them. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, I received a call, and I mean, they own a lot of land that
Yep,
it
that's what
affects.
this dude had too, I'm assuming.
yeah. Well, I got a call from Mr. Affel, because he owns a lot of land around the Foston area, and knowing that he was in the Sand Hill River Watershed District, and we had a good discussion, and after all is said and done, he agreed, it needed to be done. He was just trying to figure out what it was going to cost and what we were doing.
Mhm.
And so, the questions are easily answered. It's just, and like you said, once people see the presentation on how everything is determined, it only,
Because right now they're looking at the total cost,
Yeah.
and we're gonna divide
Yeah.
this up between the farmers. That's gonna cost me a lot. And I says,
Yeah.
well, that isn't how it works, but I can explain it as well as the presenters can.
so.
I had a call from Don Daedrick
Yeah, so did
before
I.
this session, and he was opposed to it, and he wanted me to, know that. And then after the session, he called again, and he said he had a spy at the meeting.
Yeah, he called me, and then he sent me a postcard that I was supposed to bring up here and give to you 4 or 5 to look at. It was
and I'll bring it back up later,
But
but,
anyway, he said he'd reversed, that he was in favor of
you know,
it. And then
So-
at the session, I think one of the most notable things for me was when Mark asked if anybody was adamantly opposed to this process, please raise your hand, and there wasn't one hand that went up, so
you know,
not one.
When you listen to it, it's almost a no-brainer.
all right.
When you watch the presentation.
So anyway,
So
And
is
we're
that,
dealing strictly with county ditches, not watershed ditches
correct,
or
Mhm.
township road ditches,
correct.
strictly county ditches.
Mhm.
Legal county ditches that actually have a number to them,
Mhm.
yes.
So does that include the county buying easements for the buffer strips?
Yes. So I mean, that's all part of the process.
Yeah.
So like I told everybody in East Grand Forks, I said, the county may have enough right of way right now, because like up on State Ditch 61 and JD 72, a lot of the right of way was there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whether or not we reimbursed for the actual grass buffer strip, the seed and whatever to place it, or if we didn't have the right of way, purchasing the right of way and then actually putting the buffer down. So seeding the buffer. But yes,
Mhm. You know, and I guess, I mean, I don't know, did we as a board actually agree to do all of the ditches?
no, you've only agreed to do
Yeah.
the Sand Hill.
Yeah.
You want to just text it or send?
Yeah.
You've just appointed viewers and
For Sand Hill.
started the process for the ditches within the Sand Hill River Watershed District and those going northwest from Climax that would be paying protective benefits on because of the Sand Hill ditch.
Mhm.
And so we'll move forward with those. You still have the dark blue, which was the Mentor McIntosh area, the light green, which is the stuff up northwest, and then the dark green, which is the stuff up northeast that you have to determine whether you want to.
Mhm.
Right now, they're charging $387 an acre to do the Sand Hill. If we add everything, it drops to $363.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be a savings to everybody if we did it countywide, but we can have those discussions later. I just need to know whether I should be doing an informational meeting in Mentor or McIntosh and one up in Gully late August, early September. Whether you think it's necessary.
Well, I mean, if you think that this is gonna happen, I mean, I can't see where we cannot have a public meeting.
Okay.
But I think August and September is a really bad time.
Well, yep. But you need to make a decision countywide soon
Mhm.
so that H2O reviewers can get the county scheduled. Right now they have Sand Hill District scheduled.
Mhm.
If they keep on adding counties, the rest of it gets scheduled later than sooner or not at all. So that's, I guess, we're sort of in this quandary area where everybody should know about it because they got the county newsletter if they read it. So it's not like it isn't out there. It's out on our website. It's just whether or not you want to go through the process of holding another meeting and having 20 people show up and ask questions. Most of the questions had nothing to do with the redetermination, but everything else, including the flooding on the red. So, you know, there's
It's not a question of whether you think it's gonna happen, it's a question of whether you think it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or-
Mhm.
So anyway, do some thinking. We still have time to set up that meeting. If you two feel like you really want to have one in the Mentor McIntosh area and the Gully area, just let me know. We'll schedule it. That will then determine when we have to set up the time to make the final decision on the last redeterminations of the remainder of the county. So,
I mean,
Okay.
we had that one with the Sand Hill, and we had decent in Boston and in Fertile.
Yeah.
And we had decent turnout. I'm not 100% convinced we need to do that again. There, maybe in Gully, I don't know.
Well, I mean, these other areas hit areas that people have not been to a public meeting for.
Well, the ones up in Gully have, because
Well,
more
yeah.
likely everybody that was in JD 72 and
Well,
are going to be on the other ditches that are slightly north of there.
yeah, I mean, how much is there left up there?
Very few. County Ditch 138. Anything north of the Lost River, which is not a whole lot when it comes to county ditches. So
Mhm. Yeah.
anyway, just think about it. Let me know. Don't need an answer today, and we will move forward in however you want us to move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Next time, duck.
I tried, but that's what happened. It was like ball landed there and.
Did he shoot it?
No, it was.
I'm kidding.
I was walking nearby. Almost got hit again later.
Oh, jeez, you guys. You live in a dangerous zone.
It's a tough game.
Is Jake able to come early?
We put in an inquiry to them, and so maybe a break would be in order. I'll be honest, I don't have much for a
Right.
budget update.
Mhm. Okay.
The first action item I have is loader tires for our Crookston transfer station, our 930 front end loader. I do have several bids. One thing is that we are floating the idea of getting solids, so solid rubber. Typically, we run the pneumatics and then we foam fill them. They're really breaking down every 3 years.
Sure.
We're looking at solid tires. Our only fear is that we get a little less traction because we move snow in the winter at our facility with those same tires, and so we're being told, by the regional. Setco is the company we're looking at for the solids. They run things in Polk Douglas County. They run a huge transfer station incinerator down there. They push snow. They do things. I'm trying to reach out to them just to confirm with them instead of having the rep tell me, oh, no, they're good, and then find out in the winter they're not so good. Because that's a little bit of staff's concern, is that they don't want to have issues with ice and be sliding around with a huge loader. They are heavier. They add about 4 tons to our piece of equipment. It's not a big deal when we're on pavement all the time and asphalt, but we don't go on gravel. We don't really have any more gravel out there. We paved that area for compost and things. So that's why this is such an interesting request, is that I'm just looking for a motion to approve purchasing replacement loader tires not to exceed $25,000. That would cover if we want to go and stay with pneumatics and foam fill. We'll be under that price. If we want to do the solids, we'll be under that price as well. They're very comparable. We're being told by the reps the solids get 6 to 8 years that he can guarantee we're going to get double the life of our other ones.
But if it becomes a safety issue, then
our only concern is we want to do our homework before we get those solids, that they are a year-round tire, that those guys down in Pope Douglas are not swapping out the pneumatics foam fills in the fall and leading into winter. That's the only call we need to make, is to get to somebody that's running them solids all year round. So.
Okay, so need a motion to give them authority up to 25,000.
I so move.
Paul?
Second.
Yeah, it was your turn.
Yes.
Any other discussion other than whose turn it is? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next I have septic grant applicants. So we'll be working through several of these. I believe I have 6 on the agenda today. We got this year $60,000 from the MPCA, which was about 20 grand more than we typically do. So that was good. Looking like we can fix an extra 2 systems. And what we did this year, we had kind of talked about this in the spring, March, that we were going to seek the bids. That was actually a really good idea, because we got a lot of bids on these. So we were weeding through 6 to 8 bids on most of these projects. Some are bidding like, hey, if I get it, it's going to be 20 grand, that they just throw in a bid that isn't very competitive, which is fine. But most of them, we had real competitive bids. This first applicant is Clayton Bakken. And they are near the city of Mentor in Grove Park Township, Section 1. He's met all the qualification criteria to receive 60% grant payment allocation. And I'll remind the board, it's based on income, a household adjusted gross income, if you're getting 60% grant funding versus 80% grant funding.
Right.
So this is the total for that septic. This isn't 60%. This is the total amount for that septic system. We got a bid from Tom Stenzel, who was the lowest bidder at $13,107 to install this septic system. And so some of the specifics on this, we took off any type of adjusted gross income off our application. We do require the 1040s anyway, so we get those. We have them on file. We verified they meet it. Taxes are current for the year on all these. We've checked that. But he's looking at putting a mound septic system, pumping, crushing the existing tank, and installing a 3-bedroom mound for this particular project. So just looking for a motion to go with Tom Stenzel of TS Excavating to upgrade through our septic fix-up grant for Clayton Baca.
I so move.
Okay.
Second.
Paul and Gary, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I will pause for just
Sarah.
1 second.
There, you're up.
Squeeze you in.
We're gonna have to find you,
My
She's way at
100
the end.
my 100 pages of board packet.
I think you and Steiner must be related somehow.
Well, when we sign things, JS, yeah, looks the same.
Just so it's not.
Did John sign this or Jay?
No,
I don't know.
B.
Who do we blame on
Just
this
so it's
one?
not B.
Yeah.
With a last name Steiner or Snyder.
Yeah. Oh my.
She's the very last page.
Hunter.
It's a really easy to go on that little thing on the side, Jake.
Huh? Yeah. Well,
gonna be real quick. Sarah.
you gotta
Right to you.
figure out the 1,000-page.
She is.
Okay.
I
Oh,
actually wanted to count the pages.
good morning. Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
So I am here to request a Porta Count qualitative fit tester machine. So the backstory is that through our Northwest Health Services Coalition, which we've been a member of forever in Northwest Minnesota, 2 decades ago, fit testing machines were purchased. This is the machine that we use when we are having staff or volunteers. If they wear a mask, like an N95 mask, they have to have a medical clearance and they also have to have fit testing. So we hook the mask up to a machine and it ensures that air and other contaminants can't get into the mask. And so an individual has to be certified for their particular mask, for their facial structure, and so forth. And so in the past, we were able to utilize a regional asset that was held at Riverview Health. And that machine is no longer in service and available. And so we need to utilize and have a fit testing machine. So the time has come, which we knew would come eventually, that we need to purchase our own. So this is an asset that would be available to both health departments as part of our community health board, and one of the departments just has to purchase it. And so that is what the request is for. We recently had to borrow Grand Forks counties because we needed timely fit testing and didn't have access to that. And we're in the position with our current response sustainability grant that a fit testing machine is an eligible expense. And because our hiring process last fall for our staffing took longer than anticipated, we have the funding available. And so the state recommended and did approve for us to purchase the fit testing machine, also with the warranty and annual calibration for 5 years. So they are expensive, but that's just kind of what they are. There's not a quote cheaper option available. So.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Okay. Got a motion.
Sarah, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is that fit test for half-face respirators too? Can you?
I'm not sure if it meets the qualifications. I would guess because you can put different mask types in there. So I would guess, but I can't say that with 100% certainty.
Because we're having issues with our staff, new staff, getting fit tested because they do their online trainings now and not in person. Because we used to have them go to a training and get fit tested, and you're all good.
Well, we can certainly look into it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coordinate with me.
I'll
I got
have-
a couple staff.
I'll have Jason connect with you directly because he's the one that will be overseeing and coordinating it. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
For sure.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Paul, seconded by Warren. Any other discussion?
Yes. So would it be, I'm gonna give a scenario.
Yeah.
So. most-
Only one. Just kidding.
Okay, most fire departments have to do fit testing with their SCBA mask.
Yep.
They just did it in Fertile, for example. I watched it all, and I know what the machine looks like. I know how it looks, and she could have hooked any kind of masks to it. I'm assuming, I don't know this. That's what he just asked.
Yeah, I think it can handle multiple mask types. I just don't know. I just can't say for certain.
My question would be, they had a group come in, and there was like 3 people that couldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Finding somewhere to do the fit part is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they're going to have to go all the way to Virginia, because that's where this group came out of. Would it be something like that that could be used for a person?
Yeah, assuming that it has the capability for the mask type, then
They have to bring their own mask
right.
anyway. But
Mhm.
I'm just looking for these departments so they don't have to travel
Absolutely.
300 miles if we can get it. Is that something within our realm of the county that we can provide, that one-time service to some of these places with that machine?
Yeah, we haven't ever had that request, but yeah, we can definitely look into it.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, that's my further discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd pay a fee to do it because we'd have to send somebody to Minneapolis.
They do, right,
So
to get.
Yeah, so the fit testing, the medical clearance happens before a lot of places, a lot of entities use like a 3M medical clearance. You can also have your own provider review it or whatever. And then from there, you have to have the documented fit testing. But yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, and I mean, it seems as though this machine would be able to do it because it literally describes the N95 and
SCBA.
it says tight fitting respirators.
That's
So
what it
that makes me think that it should be able to. I just don't want to say with 100% certainty
And they
because I
had-
haven't read it.
There's 3 or 4 different type of masks that they have,
Yeah.
and she just picked. Oh, what mask? Oh, boom! She clicked that mask because they have 2 different styles.
Hmm.
She just picked the one off the list.
Yeah, we can look into it. I'll have Jason talk to Jody about it, and then Jody could reach out to the fire folks.
All right. I'm not saying for the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
for
just
these-
for like the onesie twosies, because you can't. I mean, that's the predicament we're in right now, right? If we have an infectious disease concern, like before anybody can be seen, we have to, of course, verify that they've had the medical clearance, that they've had the fit testing, and so on and so forth. So,
Okay, thanks.
yeah,
That's my
absolutely,
question.
for sure.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yes, thanks for squeezing me in.
Page 50.
Oh,
44.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
that's
You're
actually
awesome, Jake, right
49.
there. 45 you're on.
We already did that one.
Clayton Bach.
So you're on 49.
That's just all the bids that we received. So for that particular project, there's the eight some odd bids, 9 bids on it. So
Where's Stencil out of?
he actually moved out of the area and he's out of the Foston area now. Bagley Foston area is where
Oh.
he's installing septics now.
Okay.
Can you show me the list again quick?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, on to more septic grants. This particular fix-up is for Gordon Erickson. This particular site location it's actually near Mentor, but it's actually on the lakes. It's on Cable Lake, and it's in Grove Park Township. Gordon and Shirley Erickson qualify for 80% grant payment allocation.
Sure.
The system is failing to meet soil separation. They're seeking funding to upgrade that septic. Jeremy Connaught, he's a fairly new installer, bid on this project. His bid was higher than Tim Olson's bid, but Jeremy also does some electrical work in the winter months. He had an extra $1,000 on his to fully provide electric for the pump and the alarm. And so when we factor that in, Jeremy's bid would have been lower than Tim's had we taken out all the electrical work. Most of the guys are just putting in there some ancillary electrical work because they'll lay that wire in the ground. for the electrician, while they have the trench dug for the sewer. So they're putting in like $200 electrical. Well, Jeremy's putting in 1,000 to 1,200 because he's having an electrician coordinate with him that this is how much it would cost to do that. So that's just a little nuance in this one. And we have that just side noted. I wanted to bring that up because it's really to get this pump wired up, to get it into the panel, to get that wire in the ground. That's the difference in the bids there. And this is just the side note on that, and the total amount. So I have it teed up that I'm looking for a motion to award the low income septic fix up to Gordon Erickson and Shirley Erickson to fix their failing septic. For Jeremy's septic and excavation, Jeremy Connaught, who was the lowest bidder at $14,900 to install the septic system.
I so move.
Okay, Paul. I think it's your turn.
Is it? Okay. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and our next septic fix-up grant application was from Chad Mosier. Excuse me. Chad lives near Fertile in Woodside Township, Section 31. He's met all the qualification criteria to receive 80% grant payment allocation. This system is failing to meet soil separation and is seeking funding to fix the septic. We did receive bids. Did we get? All of them had a lot of bids on them. So we got 8 bids. Lowest bidder on this particular project for an at-grade system. So this system's just does require a pump. At-grade doesn't have sand underneath it, so there's at least 3 feet of separation on the site. They simply lay fabric and rock down, and then it is still a dose system, pump system, still requires electric to run that system. But our low bidder on that system was Tim Olson, Olson's and Sons Excavation, to fix the septic, bid of $8,500.
So move.
Second.
Paul and Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Our next application was from Ben and Hannah Olson. They have a place near Boston, the city of Boston in Columbia Township, Section 18 of Columbia Township, so about north of Lingby area, east of Boston. The system is failing to meet soil separation. We did have another nuance with Jeremy's bid. It was higher than John Hayes, but when we take out all the electrical work, Jeremy's bid would have been lower than John Hayes's bid. So we are looking at, I did have a side note of the exact amount of this. So it was 300 difference, but Jeremy had $1,000 to $1,200 for the electrical work. So factoring that out, he would have won the bid outright anyway. This system's a little bit different. We have quite the contour change going here. Got to drop off the hillside here and get it down north of those pine trees. They have quite a big parcel there, but wells on the east side, so we cannot go out the east, and that actually drops off pretty well on the east side. So looking to get it gravity feed into the septic
10
tank.
feet.
What was that?
It's a 10-foot drop.
Yep. So there is a basement on that helps lessen that slope. So you're already 8 feet in the ground with that. So, but looking for a motion to award septic fix-up grant funds to Ben and Hannah Olson. They are looking for 60% grant, or they qualify for 60% allocation. And going with Jeremy's septic and excavation, Jeremy Connaught, who is the low bidder at $14,600.
So moved.
Gary
Second.
and Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, couple more. William Schmidt applied for the septic fix-up grant. He lives near the city of Fisher, Rome Township, Section 12. Has met all the qualification criteria to receive 60% grant payment allocation. This system is failing to meet soil separation and seeking funding for our SSTS fix-up program. Proposed mound septic system here, 12-inch lift, so another pump system. Received a little less. Most of our septic installers do a lot of work in the eastern portion of our county. Fisher, East Grand Forks area, we're really kind of struggling to get installers to give us some competitive bids. Tough to get aggregate when you get by East Grand Forks. You're having a lot of trucking costs for these mountain septics. So we had a few older gentlemen come out of the septic business. Al Rowley, Tony Philippi, they were the majority of our septics on the western portion of Polk County and northern Polk County. You know, up by Warren, they would do systems all over. So it's just kind of an island area for septics over by, once you get west of Fisher, the aggregate needs to get trucked quite a distance, so it drives the price up pretty good. But it was a pretty competitive bid for a mound septic. It's on a smaller home. But William Schmidt does qualify for 60% grant payment allocation, and we're looking at a motion for Jeremy's Septic and Excavation, Jeremy Canott, who is the low bidder at $12,100 to install the septic system.
I'll move.
Okay, Warren,
Second.
seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
On these bids, are you asking people to bid it? Or the
Yes.
homeowners?
Yep. No, we actually facilitate, here's the list and having them.
That's gotta be easier.
It takes a little burden off the applicants too.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to call everybody on the list. We simply we mail it all out to the septic installers and
Sure.
designers
And
and
they can-
say, if you want and you have questions on these, let us know.
Yeah.
A lot of the preliminary stuff has already been done. We've been on the site. We've looked at it with the applicants. Okay, what's going on? What are the things we're looking for? You got a deep basement? Is the tank going to be 8 feet in the ground? Because we got to troubleshoot that. That's plumbing in the inside that needs to be worked out. And so it helps us too to get a better understanding of what we're actually doing, so that they're not bidding and going, okay, well, we have this problem.
Yeah.
The tank's 8 feet in the ground. What are we going to do? We got to get a plumber out there. Is what we need to do. So it helps us. It helps the installers. If they don't want to bid it, they just don't bid it. So I think it's going to work real well moving forward. It's just continuing that we facilitate with our installers and designers that these are our systems. This is the list. This is what we're looking at. We encourage you to visit the site, but this is the specs on it. So,
Sure.
Last application we received was for, well, not last, but the last one today was from Rose Weber. Rose lives near just east of Crookston here in Onstead Township, Section 4. She's met all the qualification criteria to receive 80% grant allocation. The system is failing to meet soil separation, and she is seeking funding in our SSTS fix-up program. 5-bedroom install. Did get 6 bids east of Crookston. Like I said, east of Crookston, a lot of guys like to bid those projects, but you get west of Crookston and it's a different ball game.
I move. I know this one well.
Second.
Okay, so we got Paul and Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
We are going to have about a little over $6,000 left of our 60 after everything is allocated. We are contacting 3 or 4 other applications that we received and asking about asking them if they want to go through our loan program. We do have funding for about 3 septics sitting there in our loan program. The difference is those are big chunks coming out of that amount or that account, and then we'll probably have to rest next year where the loan isn't an option. If all 3 or we can't do 4, if all 3 wanted to go in, and it doesn't sound like it sounds like the interest was, maybe I'll apply next year. What that tells us as staff is typically that their system's still working, but it's just not working maybe in the spring and the fall and the winter it gets plugged up or something. That's a slow system. We do have a couple though that are in dire need, a couple that are not functioning whatsoever. So we're toying with the idea of still going through that loan, but then possibly doing the down payment with our funding.
Sure.
So that we can help them out and kind of let them know, hey, you're getting $2,500 of your septic paid for through this SSTF fix-up. As long as we can work through that with them and they understand that it's a 10-year payback of the total amount after that, that comes back. So a little more paperwork on those, a little bit more to facilitate with the loan aspect of it, going on the property taxes. Sam gets involved. We need to, do a lot of stuff on the back end, but it has been a successful program. So the thing is when we can take a funding like this that we get every year and then couple it with money that's coming back, that program's just going to continue, but we will need to probably rest next year if we do 3 of them, because we'll only have enough for one system and we'll kind of just let the assessments come in. It'll build back up over time. So that's just the nuance with the loan stuff.
Do you know how many are in the loan program right now?
Oh, we've had so many of them pay off because once they sell, they pay it off in full. I would say we probably have 10.
Okay.
If I'm just shooting ballparking, 10 to a dozen probably that are getting that assessment. But most of them we see, right around 3-4 years, the place is getting sold or, so.
What's the time frame of like from start to finish for a system?
Oh, the install itself? Oh, it can be done if it's good, 1 to 2 days. If things go a little array, you got to troubleshoot, then probably 2 to 3.
3 days.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
it doesn't take
Because I was just looking at, like one of the, it's got 4 different, 4 bids.
Yeah.
So that's just, of course, it's early in the year too, but
yeah,
and just the ability to get it done.
The other thing we're seeing with that is he's a young installer. He's trying to get his name out there, trying to build his business, and they put in competitive bids because they want projects.
Right.
People aren't word of mouthing those guys yet. He did train under Tim Olson for a couple years. Tim's been a mentor to probably half of our guys on the list have mentored through Tim Olson. So they had a good teacher.
And he's retired.
And he's retiring.
Yep. Retiring.
He's facilitating with another installer. And so we didn't see the real good competitive bids from Tim this year. We did give him one. But the thing is he's just not looking at, he's got enough stuff to finish up. He's trying to retire. So
he got 2.
Yeah.
So
I think Jeremy then got 3 because Tom was in there as well. Tom Stencil had 1 system as well.
And he only did the close to home once, I see.
Yeah. And that has a lot to do with getting materials and things. Where your materials are coming from if you're close to home. If you don't, then you need to make that call that, hey, what do you got for wash, clean, sand, or what are you looking at? How much? And then they name their price. So. Okay. First other action item for more planning and zoning is I have a resolution for a conditional use permit for Dale and Colleen Bergeron for an accessory structure greater than 800 square feet on a riparian parcel along Union, and I call it Union Anderson Lake because Anderson Lake is technically connected to Union, but Anderson subdivision was this subdivision that was done on that particular water body, and we've done a lot of permits and special permits on this. The lot is 50,960 square feet in size. It's in Section 1 of Garden Township, and it's specifically Lot 11 of that Anderson subdivision. Applicants are proposing, and I'll just say 816 square feet. It's an oddball dimension. It's an L-shaped building because they're working around the cabin that's on the site right now. To meet 10 feet off the property lot line, kind of pushed it back around the structure. And I'll go over a couple pictures here. Property does contain 2 existing 8x10 sheds. The total number that we allow in our shoreland district on a riparian lot is 2 within 300 feet of the lake. One of those sheds, I was told at the public hearing last Friday that one of them was struck by a tree during the severe weather this past weekend, or a week ago. So that one's gone. So there's only one 8x10 shed. So we're all good. I told them, well, that was fate, I guess. So we did receive compliance on their septic system fall of last year for the cabin on the site. It is their home on the site, I should say, but and so that's still valid. And they do have existing oak and ash trees between this proposed structure and the lake. And we just suggest to them keeping that vegetation down in the shore impact zone. Impervious, once permitted, would be 4%. And again, we allow 25% or under. So zoning ordinance, it does state 18.2225 F that a conditional use for anything over 800 square feet. They're just over 800 square feet, so had to run them through a conditional use permit. Their parcel is over 40,000 square feet. Maximum accessory structure size on a parcel over 40,000 is 1,600 square feet. So well below the maximum. Went over all that. Stephanie Clam had sent her boilerplate letter that knows living, sleeping quarters, kitchen facilities, future buildings on the parcel meet all setbacks, impervious coverage standards. Any bare ground be planted with perennial vegetation, all future structures and associated septic systems, not block or change natural drainage ways on the above mentioned parcel. Sure, the parcel has another location for a septic system. There's plenty of green space on this. And then vegetative screening between the ordinary high water level is in place and remains in place. So with that, I'll just go over a couple pictures here. So this is that L-shaped, just to get off that property lot line. The kind of the weird dimensions of that. So it's 24 on the face of that building. It's 42 deep, and then it cuts over 16, back up, jogs over 8, and then 18. So don't worry, it's not to scale. This is that Anderson Lake connected to Union Lake, just on the southeast corner of Union Lake. And so it is a part of Union. We just call it Union Anderson because of this Anderson development on the north side of it. Pictures from the site, that garage would be right where this gravel pad kind of ends, kind of L back around this little patio sitting area, be tucked in right alongside the cabin, but not connected. This is one of those sheds. Here's the septic system location. The proposed location for this is over here. You can see some of the existing vegetation between heavily wooded site. So trees out in front there. So I'm basically on the back end of that proposed structure, just looking towards Anderson Lake. And I believe this was the shed that got.
Isn't that Sarah? Lake Sarah?
Nope. Connects up with Union here. I'll go back to the
little puddle in between.
Oh.
Nope, that's not the middle bay of. You're probably thinking of the channel area of Sarah there. This is on the southeast corner. The public access Union Lake is right here. You can kind of see that turnaround right there. The public access of Union there, and then as you come around the county highway there, that's Anderson Lake. It's right along the county highway there. It's 42, I believe. County Highway 42. So I have a resolution to approve Dale and Colleen Bergeron conditional use for an accessory structure over 800 square feet on parcel 27-250 with those conditions we didn't go over. Shame on me. So the couple of them, vegetation should stay. Basically, don't remove any trees in that shore impact zone. That would be within 50 feet of the lake. No, I word it as what our ordinance does. No extensive tree removal. If there's a dead one, they can remove it, whatever.
The wind blows it over and roots it.
Yep, take it down. Nothing on a lot that exceeds 25% impervious surface requirement. Structure shall be used as a shed, and it lists, that's the definition of our ordinance of a shed and what you can use it for. Conditional use shall become void 1 year after it's granted unless used. And I'll waive from reading our don't be a nuisance standards and meet all County of Polk rules and regs and federal and state of Minnesota rules. No changes to those conditions on the public hearing there.
Well, then I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next action item is from an application for a conditional use permit from Josh Coons. Property is a non-riparian backlot on Maple Lake. Property owner does own a riparian lot and a non-riparian lot on Maple Lake. This particular backlot is 150 by 520, 81,021 square feet in size. We did rework our ordinance. In 2024, we reworked it based on acreage of the parcel. Based on that acreage of the parcel, we're allowed to permit anything up to 3,200 square feet is a general permit. The applicant did put in a land use permit for the construction of a 42 by 76 shed, totals 3,192 square feet. But what the request that we got for conditional use was to then tie that building into a septic system. So that is the conditional use request, is to tie a septic system into that accessory structure. We have not permitted either of them. The septic, we are still waiting on the final septic design. So we have that as one of the conditions, if approved, that we get a full septic design. There are currently 2 septic systems on this property. And I'll kind of go to the sketch of this. So this is the proposed building, and the septic location would be to the west side of the building. Oh, this is probably my best picture right here of the site itself. Okay, so that building would be up in here. Septic is proposed to be either north or just south of the building. Right on the west side would be a tank at the minimum. Minimum would be a holding tank, obviously with an alarm. The current septic system, so there's a septic system off the cabin on this property. The backlot's big enough to have a cabin on it, so it's got a current cabin home on it. And then the applicant actually owns this little sliver piece here with a really small little, I'll call it a bungalow. A little place, I don't even know if it has a bedroom in it. I think it's more of a kitchen and a dining area that is on that really small front lot. I think this is 25-foot frontage. So there's a septic actually right here that services this. There's a tank here, and then it's a pressure bed system here. So we did get compliance inspection on that. That was done when he purchased the parcel 2 years ago, I believe. And then we need compliance on the septic that's servicing the home on there yet. So that will be requirements, conditions added to this permit. So again, the conditional use is simply because he wants a bathroom in that shed/shop. The applicant did send me a letter stating it's his intent to have a shop shed. It will not have living quarters. It will have a shop with a bathroom for convenience. Again, we haven't received that full septic design. We'll need that before we issue any permit. That's one of the conditions proposed here. Existing impervious coverage with factoring in the new building would be 5% of the lot area. Again, stormwater rules up to 25%. Shed is to have no habitable space as defined by the Polk County zoning ordinance. Essentially, going through applicants to simplify things, that's no bedrooms and no full kitchens. Stephanie Clam sent her same letter that she sent and does typically with any of these requests: no living, sleeping quarters, kitchen facilities, meet all ordinance criteria for setbacks, any bare ground, plant it with perennial vegetation, and then to not block or change septic systems, and to make sure that there is adequate locations for another septic if existing ones should fail. A lot of green space on the site. I don't see that as being an issue, other than after this approval, there's going to be 3 septics on the site. But it's a bigger lot. It's almost 2 acres in size. So an anonymous landowner did contact our office with concerns, just wanted to make sure that there was a process to check these buildings after construction, no sleeping quarters, full kitchen facilities. Explained to them that, yes, that is a thing that we're doing every 3 years. We have our list, we go around, and it's staggered. We don't do them all in 1 year, and then 3 years later, we stagger these things. So about every 3 years, staff is in these buildings, meeting with the landowner, just to verify there's no sleeping quarters, that they're not using it as a guest cottage, because that is that is the recorded document, that it is not used as a guest cottage. So our ordinance defines it as habitable space. Essentially what that is, and what we're looking for, is no sleeping or full kitchen facilities. So the Maple Lake Improvement District commented that they didn't have any issues with this request. So go over just a few pictures, site pictures. Okay, so this is that lot. It extends all the way to the roadway here. Start of Maple Lake Drive southeast here, and the building would be prepped right in this location. They haven't stripped dirt, nothing has been done. It's just staked out right in this location. So again, just looking now, I'm looking in the opposite direction. Building would be sitting right in here. Then the septic would be off to the west. So, but right to the picture here. There is a small garage that will be removed after, but it could stay there, but the applicant just doesn't want it to be there. There's the home located on the parcel. So with that, I have a resolution for approval of the conditional use permit with some conditions, which I'll go over right now. No guest house uses. So being it's a septic tied to an accessory structure, we have to have furnished evidence of having the landowner record the signed guest house waiver with the property deed before the building permit is issued. Applicant shall provide a septic design from a licensed professional for the planned septic system and get a compliance inspection on the existing septic system on the property prior to issuance of the land use permit. No future development that would exceed 25% impervious. Conditional use shall become void 1 year after it was granted unless used, and then I'll waive from the meet all other regulations. Unless somebody would like me to read them. I can read for you.
No, it's not
I
today.
read them.
Got it.
You must have them memorized by now.
I do. Probably recite them right now. I don't want to though.
No, that's okay. We'll pass.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
We're on the home stretch. Last action item. Last action item is applicant is Daniel Gunter. Dan is looking at a structure that is over 3,200 square feet in size. I say over 800 in the ordinance, but these are those new rules that were in place, we put in place last year. So any structure over 3,200 square feet must be processed as a conditional use. And those are for those parcels that are greater than, it's about 4.5 acres there or more. This particular parcel is 183 acres. So applicants looking at constructing a 60 by 70 storage building. It is a riparian lot on Cable Lake. Distance will be over 300 feet from the ordinary high water mark. Ordinance standard 182225C, and that's that new section of our ordinance that talks about our square footage of the parcel will dictate how big the accessory structures can be. We put this in because these are just ongoing things with large tracts of land. This tract of land encompasses the entire western bay of Cable Lake. It is non-navigable. You can put a kayak canoe right off the township road here, but there's no way you're getting a boat with a motor in there other than you picking it up and putting it in there with a trolling motor or something. It is kind of a shallow bay of Cable Lake, but this is the main part of Cable Lake. This is all the western portion of Cable Lake. It's just kind of a bay. This is the old farmstead, old homestead of Daniel Gunter's family. There is an old homestead on the property, some ancillary accessory egg buildings. Dan is looking at putting up a 4,200 square foot cold storage building. No water, no sewer. It is strictly just for storage. The access into this, so he owns these 3 parcels right here on the west side of this driveway. Like I said, he basically owns the entirety of this parcel around it. Do have it discussed with the applicant that the old homestead, we're going to have to figure out if there's a septic on it and what to do. Are we just abandoning that? My 2 cents are that it's just a hole in the ground and the pipe should just be capped. And if it's a hole, fill it with class 5. If there's anything in it, pump it out first. But I would assume there's just nothing other than a brick cavity or maybe a culvert on end. So
I had one of those ones.
you know about those systems. So we're working with him. That is one of the conditions, if approved, is that the old homestead must either pass a septic compliance inspection or just abandon the thing because there's no water. That's the homestead is shot. I think I got a picture of the. Well, this is the view. Just like you are not going to be able to see this from anything beyond that water body. You're not going to see anything. You can see the top of a little an old silo there, old grain bin, but you won't see this building. Proposed layout. There's the ancillary egg buildings. Top of that old grain bin, you can see. You can't. I don't have it in the homestead's right over here where my cursor. This is then looking back at the lake, be able to see the structure at all. So with that, this is just kind of the site layout. 300 feet this line here. We're well past that. We're into this area over here. There is another little ancillary wetland that's not a part of Cable Lake at all, just a little wetland area. So with that, Planning Commission and staff recommend approval with the following conditions. No extensive tree removal in the shore impact zone, so within 50 feet of Cable Lake. No future development that would exceed 25%. Oh, geez, it's 183 acres. Shed may be used by the definition of our ordinance. The old homestead of the property must either pass septic compliance inspection or the septic system abandoned according to Minnesota Chapter 7080 Septic Code. Conditional use will become void 1 year after it was granted unless used. And I will waive from the memorized ordinance sections. But I do have a resolution for approval of Daniel Gunter to construct that 4,200 square foot accessory building with those conditions.
It's in my district, I suppose I'll move.
Most of them are today.
Okay, motion by Paul,
I'll second.
Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay,
Thanks.
out of here.
Okay, one question. A
Yes.
couple of these properties were valued at $400,000 and $500,000, and there's income-based grants. How does that work?
We discussed that in March, if you remember,
Hmm.
if we were gonna cap what property value we were looking at. And we didn't have any direction on a cap.
So it's strictly income.
So it's
Mhm.
income based. It is your adjusted gross income
Hmm.
on your 1040. So, yes, some counties around us do, because we made some calls.
Mhm.
Some do have a cap. Some do have a cap on all the acreage that is with it. Like this parcel here, 183 acres. They would value in the land as well. And that can't exceed like 250,000, I want to say Beltrami County does. The thing is that what do you do with a person that's on Social Security, retirement benefits, and they're not making income other than that, and they're in a home they've been in for and kept up for 30 years, and it's a nice home, and they're going to value it at $450,000.
And they may not be able to sell it when they have to go somewhere.
It's a double-edged sword. We have applicants that have multiple households in one household. Like, hey, my grandpa lives with us, and what we tell them is we have to factor all the income in, and technically you're multi-family dwelling. We want it to be for single residential buildings. We can rediscuss, but we didn't put a cap on any values.
I was just wondering, because
So
okay,
we do have guidelines in that program, and we can adjust those. Those are our rules. Those are our rules of the program. So we went over them in March. Was it March or April?
Yeah, it was in there.
We did go over those. Do we want to tweak? Do we want to do it? Because I wanted to kick ideas of if we're going to be the ones sending bidders, and that seems to be going really well.
Mhm.
So we can make adjustments if you want. That's what we'll do.
No changes
Cap it.
necessary.
So
Okay.
But I'll-
Send another day.
yeah, yep. I'll bring it back in March or whatever when we're setting up the program next March. So, all right.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Have a good 4th of July.
Oh, yeah, you too.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Do we need another break, or is everybody good?
I'm good.
I'm great.
Good?
Got our guys here. So
Yep. Okay. Okay, so you guys can come up and then identify yourself so Sam can include it in the minutes.
we grab a couple chairs. Yeah.
Yep.
Paul Bergeron, president of Marshall Polk Rural Water. I live in Argyle, west of Argyle, 4 miles.
Okay.
Mike Kosalski, you live right over by Fisher here. I was just in here a couple of months ago being reappointed, and thank you for that. Been on the Marshall and Polk Rural Water Board for 28 years.
I'm Jason Stordahl. I live north of East Grand Forks. I've been on the board for about a year and a half, something like that. My dad was one of the founding fathers for Marshall Polk Rural Water, which maybe I'll just start with a brief history, if that's all right. So Marshall Polk Rural Water has been servicing the area for about 50 years. Currently, we have 800 plus residents just in Polk County, plus the city of Fisher. Marshall Polk Rural Water was organized in 1973 and approved by the district court in accordance with Minnesota Statute 116A. They started construction of wells and reservoirs in 1976 and finished that in 77 when they began pumping water to 605 users at the time. The first expansion was in 1981, where they added 2 new wells and the 7th reservoir, which was around the Euclid area. In 1988, they added additional users throughout the distribution center. In 92, they added a new well and water treatment plant at the Radium site and started servicing the city of Oslo. In 1998, Alvarado was connected with additional rural customers as well. And in 2000, Florian, there was a Florian expansion. They constructed Reservoir 8 and added 190 miles of new pipeline. In 2004, the Euclid well site was made out of compliance because of some changed regulations with maximum contaminant levels of arsenic. So they purchased the Schuster well site in Bristol Township and constructed reservoirs 9 and 10, adding customers, rural customers, and the city of Fisher. That was the last major expansion, which brings us to today.
So if I could take over from here, we're in the process of doing another expansion. We've been looking at south of Crookston, north of Crookston, and we've got a well site already. That obviously water is the biggest concern, and we have a well site at Euclid. When they went from parts per million to parts per billion, we were found to be out of compliance with our arsenic levels. We plan on taking that site, which is a very good site, by the way, except for the arsenic levels, and putting in a reverse osmosis system to take out the arsenic and the iron. And so we will have water right there ready for us where we want to expand. That is going to be a $200,000 to $250,000 project in that well site. We plan on putting a reservoir east of the airport in Crookston, and we've got quite a bit of interest in that area. Did you guys get the letter from Mike Gasper? If I may, could I just pass this out? He's one of the people very interested in that as well. Yeah. Thank you for reading that. So the well site itself is a $200,000 to $250,000 project. The reservoir will be about $1 million that we're going to put east of the Crookston Airport, and then we start putting in lines. And so the whole project is probably going to be between a $3 and a $4 million project. I guess what we're looking for is any kind of financial support we could get from the county. I know, I know with the new West Central district that's on our borders, the talk was whoever could provide the water the soonest for the customers that we're looking for. And right now, that's us. So that's our request right now.
You guys have any questions what we're trying to do? And I mean, we're not just picking at towns. We're looking to get to the people that when we hear from a guy like Mike that his well is not good, we find that there's a lot of people that are having problems then. So you go into that area, it's much easier that way. I mean, we haven't really gone after every year, we got this one, we got that. No, it takes time to get people's, but as more irrigation comes in, more people have wells that fail. I mean, it's just inevitable. So, I mean, we had 3 years ago, we had to supply the city of Warren twice because of irrigation wells. We have very good sources, and the reason we shut down the well by Euclid, now it's made feasible with reverse osmosis how they do it now. And we can do that. It's just tanks you put in, and the building's there, the well's there. We can use it now. And we do have a 4-inch line running up to the airport. So
Concerns. I have one.
Yeah.
And there's no secret to the fact that I'm not partial to West Central or to Marshall Polk. I think they're both good entities, but there's a problem we're having between the two right now. I happen to be on that board, and from the first time you guys came here that I needed a lot of learning about the rural water system. I understand that this is an issue and this is all there, but we have a legal issue that needs to be fixed between Marshall Polk and West Central. It's no sweat off of my back what we do, but we need to fix that. And when we fix that, then talking about this kind of stuff makes a lot easier. But right now, there's an agreement. There's no agreement between the two. And that needs to be fixed before we can discuss further. That's how I feel.
I would agree. I've been talking about this boundary business. It should be a soft line, not a hard line. Whoever can serve, serves. Doesn't make any difference to me. My commissioner district has both water districts in it. So I could care less. Just whoever can serve, serve. And that's the whole thought behind my position.
And this system goes all the way to Fargo, or Moorhead, I should say, or just outside of Moorhead, Georgetown, and just a little past. But we need to, in order for that district to even move forward, this is a lawyer game right now, and I'm not into lawyer games. And you're the only ones, your board is the only one that can control the entity there. I agree with Warren. Let's make a soft line or something. Let's get that fixed, and then we can move forward on talking about this stuff.
Believe me, there's no one more frustrated than us. This is our system. Marshall Polk rural water.
Mm-hmm.
Polk County is what we assumed was our line. And when the climax thing happened, we were as shocked as anybody. And if we, I'm going to be blunt here, but if we would have ended up with the same amount of funds given to us, we could have provided Climax for the same money, a system that would have had a reservoir, so they would have had fire protection and a much better system than they have right now. I don't want to beat this to death. It's already passed.
And that's way before my time, I might add.
Okay, sure. And I'm not pointing fingers at all. I'm not at all. We're just frustrated because we're a super proud company. We provide the best water for the least amount of money. We've always done that, and we always will do that. But it's not like we have a bunch of money laying around, and we're spending money on lawyers going back and forth on a memorandum of understanding of where this line is supposed to be. And every month it's costing us more and more on something that we never even brought it on ourselves. We thought the Polk County line was our line.
The South Polk County line?
Yeah. And we approached Climax several times when we put Fisher on. We ran a line down to Eldred, a larger line, and we didn't ask for any help to put a larger line down there with the idea that we were going to add Climax at some point. And it never. So my point is we've never asked for funding before, but after what we've seen is going on with the West Central group, we realized that we failed miserably in not being in front of you guys more. And so right now we're in front of you, and we're not a throw a dart at the wall hoping this is going to happen. This is going to happen. If we can get the funding and we can get enough people to sign up with this, we're going to fix our well, and we're going to put that reservoir in, and we're going to get people on like Mr. Gasper. We're going to take care of things because that's what we do. And on our future plan is to cross the Red Lake River to put a reservoir south of Crooked, so we start handling the people that have begged us to get going over in that neck of the woods as well. We have the water. We're not pumping it from Larimore, North Dakota. So we're just asking truly to be just treated like the other people were treated. That's what we're asking.
Well, I think, for one thing, that the ARPA funds that we used went to the city. It wasn't for West Central's. It was to help the city.
Well, it expanded the line from 8 inches to 12 inches, which allowed for somebody beyond Climax to be, served. But it was, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple things here, because I can understand. I don't think there's any issue with the project. I mean, I don't think you guys have talked to. I've certainly heard about a reservoir. I think it's on your map. It's not in the location you just mentioned, but trying to find a source to hold water east of 75 someplace, I assume for the gravitational fall. The board has been pretty clear from the get-go that they don't really care who does the district expansion or the system expansions. For the court process, I talked to Jason about this probably now 2 or 3 years ago. You need to have a map. That's the reason why there's a boundary. But the board has been pretty clear. It doesn't really matter where it is once that district is established. Now we'll have 2. But that was really the only purpose for the line. But I think the concern has been for those of you who were at the court hearing, the judge said, well, because your engineer got up and basically, I don't know how to characterize it, but he raised a lot of questions along with an attorney, who I don't know if it's the same attorney you have now, and the judge's reply was, well, when you guys get it worked out, I assume you'll fix that. And so that's what led to the conversation we had last fall on an MOU, and I think one of you brought up as a gentleman's agreement, which I think played well with this board and the West Central people, what I've been told based on the conversations between the attorneys was, well, first, there has to be a line somewhere for the court process. I think the concern from West Central is, do we just go ahead, or do we have some sort of a workable agreement with Marshall Polk? Again, I don't think they're looking at expansion in the area that you're talking about here today. It's not really not practical from their standpoint. I still sit in meetings because the district isn't an official district yet, but I don't think they're going to have any issue with what you're talking about here today. I don't see anything with, I mean, their problem is getting money just to expand lines. You guys are an entity who have an income stream. It may not be a lot of extra money, as you say, but the avenues that they're looking at for funds are available to anybody. The county's participation was to upsize the line in order to provide more water to this part of, or that part of the county, in the southern part of the county. But I think the political capabilities of having a district going all the way to the Moorhead area was attractive for other types of money, state federal funds. And that's why you got this district. I mean, if they're talking about crossings down in Halstead area or even south. And, you know, from the standpoint of just getting water to residents, I think that's the position of this board. And the ARPA money was there, and one of the criteria was water, fresh water, clean water. And so it fit within that criteria. But it still took this board quite a while to commit to it. In fact, it was a lot less than the original request coming from Climax and their engineering firm. The ARPA money has been spoken for. I mentioned it to Jason in the conversation last week. Asked him if he had any information about the project, how much you're asking for. I didn't really get anything, so this is the first time we've gotten anything about what the plans are, but more details. I can't speak for the board as far as funding, but whatever the amount is, I'm sure you'll give it to us in writing or something like that. I'm not even sure what your board's actions have been, but nothing's off the table. But I know from this board standpoint, the monies that have been put towards the district have been for the formation, not for any projects. The ARPA money went to Climax, and if nothing happens with that district after Climax, well, then that's it. But everybody knows it's there, including Marshall Polk. So I don't. I can imagine how it appears, and certainly heard about it from your engineer about all this stuff. But the effort to just figure out a way to get water to Climax and make it so it can go beyond that, it was a big put in effort. You might know, and particularly, you know, Jason's dad was part of it. I've read the story about Marshall Polk, so I've seen how much has been done. But you know, there was a crossing from North Dakota for water for this group as well. I can't speak to what the county's input for funds to Marshall Polk has been over the years, but you know, they're not in the water system business other than trying to get this thing up and going. Have at it. I mean, if whoever can move into the areas that aren't served, I don't think you're gonna have any issues from this board. And I don't want to be speaking for the board, but that's certainly what I've been
And I guess this memorandum of understanding, they drew a hard line. And it basically tells Marshall Polk Rural Water, you're not moving into that line.
No.
Well, not the, now there's two different things. When you get your 116A and that puts that down, then they have a legal deal, you know? And that's what, you know, we don't spend a lot of money on legal stuff. We're not chasing that. We're just trying to say, hey, you're taking everything that we're looking at, because we've had maps into that area since the 70s. I go back to the 70s. That we would like to go south. We can't, do we, unless if we had a letter from you guys saying, you know what, this trumps anything. If you get there first, fine. You know, but just the legal stuff, the legal cost of just this letter would be nothing if we have to go up against those guys, because they built a reservoir and we decide to, or they put a line in and we decide to build a reservoir someplace. All of a sudden they said, no, we have this that says we were here first. You know, it gets to be a lot of legal stuff if it's not done at the top. Right.
Well,
and most of us won't be here when that happens. I guarantee it. Jason might be here. He's younger.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with that point at all. That I know the discussions between the three attorneys, your attorney, West Central, and county attorney was, okay, Marshall Polk attorney, where is your line right now? And I know you're saying it's all Polk County, but somewhere, just as West Central is going through this judicial process, there's a line. Where is it? And that hasn't been produced. Paul and I were at the meeting yesterday. There was some discussion about it. There's going to be another outreach to the attorney and say, you know, where is your defined boundary? And I know the title is Marshall Polk, but it's not clear that all of Polk County is part of this water district. These guys appoint you. You're in our county. There's no disrespect intended to the system. It's anybody can get the water there. Let's get the water there, whether it's Marshall Polk or West Central. But I can tell you, sitting in all these meetings, that about the only thing that West Central can do is go straight east of Neilsville right now. That's about it. And I'm not sure that was ever part of your real plan. I can't speak, and I don't think anybody here can speak to your discussions with Climax, but there was never any pushback on the ARPA funding for Climax. And the district hadn't even, I mean, I can't remember the relationship, how it ended up starting, because I think the engineering had a lot to do with that. But this agreement was with the city of Climax. So the MOU, I believe, was intended to say, hey, you know, we're not going to stop, or one group isn't going to stop another group from expanding. And if there's essentially any need for discussion on an area, that there's a mutual discussion about it. But you're actually way ahead of West Central. West Central isn't even formed, and to your comments about the legalities of it, I think one of the things I'm seeing is the legalities for West Central are here and now because of the court process. For Marshall Polk, you haven't had to deal with any of this for probably 50 years. It's gotten the attention around the state because I think yesterday there must have been 3 or 4 more districts that are being talked about being formed. Not in our area, but I mean around around the state, and the viewpoint was, well, that's gonna get more opportunity for state funding towards these things. There's gonna be a recognition that
everybody.
water systems are needed.
Even existing ones. You guys, West Central, those other ones, the word is out. That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because that was huge discussion yesterday. How the awareness to the water issues are there, and the state is 100. The legislatures are in favor, no matter who does it. We just need to.
Minnesota Rural Water has really been hammering on the legislation. I mean, because hey, you can put cable to everybody, but nobody can have water.
Exactly.
I mean, they started a campaign about 2 years ago, really going after it.
So if we can, Warren said it, what did you call it? A soft line. I wish we didn't even have to have a line. But the court system is asking us for a boundary to name that place, to name West Central. Whose services?
I don't think it's a huge deal to them. They just have to have a map. Well, if you have a map, you're gonna have a line. I was like, okay, well, what isn't? I don't know. We got something. Or I should say, West Central got something off the website and came here, and our discussion was, why leave anybody out?
That was the biggest discussion, and that's when I first came here, and just almost 2 years ago. That we don't want anybody to be lose their ability to get some kind of fresh water if they want. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, that's what we've done for 50 years, and we're super proud of what we've got.
Yes. But how are we going to get that thing signed for them?
Yeah, we're behind West Central. The climax thing, I don't want to talk about it because it's beyond, it's gone. We drew a line at County Road 41 just because of climax. 41 is just north of climax. Just draw that line. It's almost like a township and a half that we are willing to, I don't know why, but we're willing to give up. And it's just gone back and forth and back and forth and more lawyer fees and more lawyer fees. For what? Let us do 41 and north at least, and we'll start getting that done. What their plans are, it will be years and years and years before people will get water from their system. We're here. Right now, what we're asking for is just to be treated the same. So we've got a level playing field. And I know the money came from, and I call it COVID money, but whatever you want to call, and I know it went to climax and everything like that, but could we somehow be treated the same way so we're on a level playing field? And if we do, and if we are treated the same, we are going to have a project that's going to, well, we're going to be super excited for, because we're going to be putting on tons of people south, north of town by the airport, and then we're going to keep going because we're going to go south of town, but we can't, we need some help. And all we're just asking is to be treated the same.
As far as the money goes, had there not been ARPA funds available, I don't know that we would be have contributed anything toward West Central. Now that money is gone, I don't know how we can come up with any more, so to speak. It's
the funds that the board has committed to now, it's a $200,000, along with Norman County having put in some money and Clay County putting in money based on populations of the respective areas for the legal and engineering for the court process, because counties are the ones that have to get together and figure out the submittals for this with the court. This group has been like, okay, you've come in, you know, it was 135,000, then it was another 65. Don't come again. But that's just the paperwork, the legal work, because that has to happen in order for a district to be formed. None of the three counties have even intimated that they're interested in putting money to a project. We've actually had arguments with one of the other counties about when does the ARPA funds that are part of the climax expansion get accounted for in a system. And they're trying to figure out how that works into a rate structure and all the nuances of that. It's very interesting. It's way beyond me. But that's their long-term planning issues. But I think what you'll probably see, and I have kind of said we need to make sure we're keeping our nose in this, is don't just have expansion happen in Norman and Clay. That's probably going to happen in Norman because I mentioned the Hillsborough thing and the bit of crossing out of that, which would bring a lot of water, a lot more than the climax line. But if we can just get water over to Beltrami, we're kind of like, well, okay, now I got district. You two sit in the meetings. That's still a long ways because it's going to be somebody else's money. There isn't any money for these guys to function, and part of their problem is they're not a legal entity. That's how come the 3 counties have to still be involved. But once it is, my guess is, well, I don't want to say we wouldn't be seeing them any more than we see you, other than we're making appointments. I'll speak for myself as a county administrator. I would hope that there's collaboration between 2 groups just to get water to the area. Because I think there's opportunity for that, but I'm not on your board. I'm working for these guys, but these guys cover everything.
That's why I keep saying soft line. You have a line, it's soft line. We'll have a line, it's soft line. Whoever serves.
That's how I just want everybody to have
The MSU was pretty close last time. I think that was going to be the last time it was going to go back to the lawyers to get pounded out. And then it was probably about.
That's just spending more money, I think.
So let me ask you this. Going forward, say you guys hear about money available. Would you report it to us?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the hard part is we don't have staff or an engineering firm that, digs for money. And maybe we should go to Marshall too and say, hey guys, if you hear about water money, I mean, I know short term from the state, yeah, we get Minnesota Rural Water short term at cheap interest, but they don't get into the long term stuff.
There might be federal funds. You never know in the future, because I think that's what West Central is hoping on, because they're in these committees, and you have the same legislators as they do, and we need to be in contact with them. Guys need to be talking to them all the time, because they're on these. Their names come up all the time. Gander and Johnson, and then Tina Smith was, and Klobuchar. They're all aware of this, and they're all on board. Just be in the know.
It's going to be higher. It's going to have to be federal dollars. Minnesota don't have nothing, so
right.
But that's the other problem.
Right.
Those
So
main lines are going to have to be paid for by grant money, not by user money.
So if we can get this letter, you need to go talk to your board and your lawyers so that we can get this taken care of. We don't want to go to the. This is what I personally. I don't want to go to the judge, the group to go to the judge on the board that I have to sit on, and tell them that, well, we've extended. This is everything we've extended to Marshall Polk, and we can't get an agreement. I don't want that to be said. I want your lawyer or whoever is behind telling your lawyer what to do to work with the county attorney, work with that West Central's lawyer, and let's get this thing done. I don't care what the line says. get it done. So if there's somebody close to their main line that's just a few miles away, north of 41, give them the water. If there's somebody a little bit south and you guys are already there, give them the water. I don't care who gives it. There shouldn't be a law or a legal problem in my mind.
But you say that, like I said, when we're all dead and gone, there's going to be one guy with that letter saying this is what we wrote.
Right, but then get your guy to write it up and send them something.
Well, I think we've been going back and forth trying to do that, but it's like
The last one
You
was
know-
not very profitable. The last letter that was just sent, I didn't think that was anything that said that. From your
no, because
lawyer.
now they're starting to go back and forth and they're getting pissed off at each other, they're trying to do hard lines. You know,
There ain't no hard line. It's never been talked about a hard line
Well,
at our meetings.
it's a hard
Well,
line for the court process.
hard line
For the court process, I understand that.
The hope is that there's, as was said back when we met in East Grand Forks, just a few of us, that there would be some sort of a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which was like, that's perfect. What West Central is sitting there facing is at some point they're gonna be in front of their judge again. Is Marshall Polk gonna be there saying, oh, we're opposed to this? That's what their interest is in trying to have something, plus some assurance for Marshall Polk. And to be honest, we've got remember we got 4 out of
9.
Polk has 4 out of 9 on that board. That, at least in Polk County, there's collaboration because that will lead to the likelihood of more outside money coming in, possibly.
Right.
I mean, some of this stuff is so what if, but you're all talking about where the money is going to come from. It's going to be state or federal money for a lot of project expansion. Except Marshall Polk already has an organization. Marshall Polk can already do a lot of things depending on your ability to finance it. West Central doesn't even have a truck.
Yeah.
They're using the guy at Halstead Utilities to essentially keep minutes and work as the chairman of their board.
We have how many appointments from Polk County on your board? Just you?
Nope, Jason and I and is it Wayne Nelson?
That's 3.
We have 4.
4 from West Polk, Marshall Polk.
Don't we have 4? We got one more that's not here.
Yeah, Wayne Nelson. But
Wayne
Paul's Wayne Nelson. Yeah. Paul's from Argyle, so
I'm
he's
from Argyle.
Marshall
I'm in
County.
Marshall.
Yeah, so it's just 3 of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we still got a
3.
good number.
And if there's 4 from West, that's what I'm going to count on to make the gentleman's agreement.
We met in right before Christmas, and I thought, finally.
Yeah, we were thought this was going, and then we got that first one, and we're like, this doesn't do nothing for Marshall Polk Rural Water.
It seems like whatever we agreed upon, it went back to the lawyers and we're not doing that. It came back completely different from what we, as a gentleman's agreement, had come up with, and we've been just battling ever since.
Maybe we ought to just meet again and
Oh,
just kind of go
you
through it
bet.
and say, what are we trying to achieve here? Because I know sitting on their meetings, again, I just go down there because I got commissioners on there until this thing gets done. That I'm not going to. We just have to make sure that our folks understand what we're talking about. Most of West Central doesn't care because it's south of the Polk County line. But the concern is what's going to happen when they get in front of that judge for the final time. Is it going to be, hey, wait a minute, we've got a problem with this, like the last time? And I remember talking to Jason for the first time. I told him, I said, the problem is we have to have a line. We have to have a map. And we're either in it or we're not. And I think the assumption was, well, there was nothing east of Crookston. Even though it's, I know Marshall Polk, but I think their group was just looking at whatever they could find on your website. And I know they had conversations with Jason too, but this group, the who does it?
Well, I think
not
that's
the issue.
the map is probably the biggest. Then you go like, okay, they've taken everything where even anything we want to expand into, and they put it on that map.
Well,
Which is
keep in mind,
okay.
it wasn't them, it was this group. This board passed the resolution with that outline on it.
Well, somebody brought it to them though. Right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
well, they
it's-
actually came with a smaller area, but I'm like, guys, why would we leave anybody out? But of course, I'm looking at it as an absence of Marshall Polk.
Yeah, see,
territory.
we took it as we'll never get to expand again
No.
if we don't have some kind of. That's why we would some kind of an
Remember,
agreement.
this whole thing still, anything you want to expand to, anything they want to expand to, there's 4 and 3, and they have to come to us for the help then. That's how I look at it. So the commissioners,
It's a little different when you're talking this and then you're talking to the lawyers. Because the lawyers want it black and white, just like the legal system.
You're paying the lawyers. So you
Yeah.
tell them what you want.
exactly.
And until you don't do that, they'll continue running your bill. They'll argue this as long as many hours they can
Right, just
Mhm.
put on their budget.
And I think, and also too, is once West Central gets through all the legal and they're an actual entity, that they're on their own. We're no longer involved. I mean, it's that they do what they do.
just like you guys. They're gonna be on, but if they want to do something expansion into your area because they got one house that's really close and convenient to hook up to them, and then you have one really close. You guys, if there's an issue, you should have to come to this room and get it fixed. Done.
And there shouldn't be an issue.
Bingo. That's my point.
We're behind that 100%. We
Then
just,
write it up and tell your lawyer, present this to them. And if that's the hypothetical hard line that you want to use, which we're going to call a soft line, pick that and send it to them. Here's the line.
I thought we didn't. We've already done that, but
Yeah.
Well,
We might have to just revisit, just go back to that September meeting we had.
Give us to the July meeting and then
Yeah, we didn't have the.
we'll give you a
attorneys.
call after that one.
just because they're going to talk in the next 2 or 3 weeks before our next meeting to see what can be fixed. So you need to talk to your lawyer and see if we can fix this.
And I know that your lawyer has been asked, where is your legal line?
Legal line.
And, that's, like,
Go back into the 70s. Then where are the records from that? There's probably not a lot of.
well, therein lies part of the problem.
Mhm.
I mean, if it can be figured out, okay. There wouldn't need to be any argument here. It's just, there's some paperwork between the 3 counties if the line has to be adjusted. But where's it going to be moved to? And I think there's still room then for discussion about, well, when and where would you have some sort of a cooperative work? Because I don't think West Central is looking at Marshall Polk as competition. I think they're just looking, right now they're just trying to get set up. That's it.
I think that, Chuck, kind of speaks directly to Paul's point of the gentleman's agreement down the road. Who's going to know about it? And how are you going to document it? Where somebody comes to me as the county recorder and I can find the documents, here's the lines.
I suspect both groups will have the agreement.
Right, but
And
in
this
the
group will have
agreement, is it
the court will have the agreement.
right? So you're saying 2 different agreements because if you look
There's
at
a
it,
legal
then there's
agreement
a
and
legal
then-
agreement that says here's the line, and then you have the county's agreement that says there really is no line.
Which the legal
No,
agreement will
no, that's-
represent that.
That's not it. Just as the West Central has to have a map.
Yep.
Based on a legal definition for the judge.
Yep.
The assumption would be is that there's one that Marshall Polk has.
Yep.
And the message to their attorney from Greg Whitsett, the county attorney, was produce it. Show us where. And if it's expanded over time, fine. I think there'd be some understanding that, well, no, it's not maybe as rigorous as what this group is having to go through right now and setting up the line, but
Yeah, I'm just looking at it as a county recorder who could possibly get questions as to, hey, can you produce any of this documents? Because we get that all the time for like the ambulance stuff and whatever. And
have you gotten any of it for now? Because I asked you to put together where their line is, but my guess is it's just expanded organically without a court blessing on something. But whether it's the entire county or somewhere in between, that's the question that's being given.
Do you guys have anything like that?
Of
a map?
Well,
We're assuming it's the entirety of Polk County.
No. Originally, we just assumed it was because we're Marshall and Polk, right? We just never had dreamed that if Norman County started a rural water, that they wouldn't go, and we wouldn't go into Norman County because that's just the way it is. Well, then after the climax thing blew up, it was just everything was out the door, and from that point on, we just went.
Do you have but you don't have a.
Well, we have service maps back.
We're 2 miles from climax. We're right between the river and climax. We have a place right there.
But within the court system, I'm asking.
Within
like
the court
there-
system, see, back in the 70s, you probably didn't have to do that.
So we have set County Road 41 just because that was kind of like, okay, let's just pick that. It's climax.
West Central didn't
it's
really want to go
Neelsville,
there.
it's Beltrami. It's a nice. We're just gonna pick that line, and it was like it should be so simple, and we've just gone back and forth, and like you said, Gary, it's probably the lawyers that are dragging this thing on or something.
It sure sounds like it to me. And it's to their advantage.
Yeah. Well,
So,
But why don't we just follow up and maybe just have another meeting? Because I thought that meeting went really well.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was the best meeting with all of this.
tell the lawyers this is what you want, get it done.
And just tell them, you write it, give it to the lawyer, none of this fancy talk, get it done, send it to them. They're not going to oppose.
But you're right. I mean, the two lawyers kind of get mad at each other.
oh
Well,
yeah,
it's it's a poker game for them. Forget it.
and no real legal stuff is in that. It says it right in there. This is not binding. But when they go do their 116A, then if they have a map in there, that's binding. So we're playing two kind of a shell game, and like I said, we're all dead and gone, and then all of a sudden something happens. We're going to be sitting like this again, but in a courtroom, and then you're going to be paying lawyers big time. So I've learned over the years that it has to be done right at the top, otherwise you're going to be cleaning up a mess down here. So like I said, we won't be cleaning up the mess. Somebody else will.
Well, unfortunately, Marshall Polk in the 70s didn't get a hard line. Because they assumed it was the entirety of Polk.
And we were
And there's
almost.
nothing in the archives anywhere that is
Yeah.
be found.
I think Commissioner Reese is right, and it's not any kind of a slam on Marshall Polk because there wasn't any reason to worry about it.
Correct.
And now you get this new group and this county, the county board, you need a map. Okay, well, where's your territory? Where's your service area? Okay, well, it's not in these areas, so here's a line, go by the sections or whatever, and off you go. But the full assumption was, once we get through the court thing, then it's going to be wherever the two groups worry about. Because it's not even practical for West Central to really be talking about going north of Crookston or 41 or whatever. I mean, they don't have any money to do anything now. But as far as it showing up in court again in some way, shape, or form, if you're going to do something now, it would likely be a MOU that can be revisited if you want. I don't know why not. It's gonna be a practical thing going forward. But it may be as much of an absence of what is the line, the official line. If it says all of Polk County, well, then we're not even in the West Central Regional District anymore. So,
which is gonna put a big clamp on them moving forward.
Yeah, we're not gonna,
And we don't want that.
no,
None
we
of us
don't
want
either.
that.
We don't either.
So write something up, pick it and send it to your lawyer and tell them this is what you want sent to West Central. We will read it when we get there and we will report on our conversation here at that meeting.
aside from this group, Polk County Board saying, all right, we're not part of West Central, so that our borders are Polk County. Wherever that line gets moved to, the conversation still has to take place, because someday there's gonna be a, okay, who's gonna go there? Well, again, practical matter, we can get there and we can do it cheaper. It's just not much more complicated than that.
If we're fighting over that south border, what a great problem to have, because we'll have filled in so much of
That's
this
right.
area, which is
That's the goal that we're talking about.
us too.
This group isn't gonna have any problem if you wanna hook up to Climax for water. Have at it. This group put in $584,674 worth of ARPA money.
And they should, I doubt at all, I don't know this, I won't say it, you know. At some point in history, I'll bet you the two systems help share each other. That's what I'm guessing.
There's a win.
Yeah, there should be backups for each other.
Wonderful.
That's what's been going on in the North Dakota side between all these districts. Is they're all
Well, we are hooked up to it.
well, yeah. I mean,
But
it's just
we can get cheaper water.
And they're hooked up.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
better water.
We've taken a lot of your time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Send a letter soon to your lawyer and tell him what you want done.
Yeah.
Please.
I wanna, I mean, I'm a staff person, so Jason is my peer, but I mean, you want me to try to facilitate conversation, maybe get these two are appointees to the West Central from this board until it's
formed.
Okay. You have minutes, right?
Board
You
minutes.
do board minutes?
Yeah, they're online.
Send those to Jason. So then he knows exactly what we talked about. That the board doesn't care who gets there. Give it a soft line. That comes from Polk County. That can go into our records now. Pretty simple.
What I'll probably do is send them the link so you can just watch it. 'Cause
Yeah, but when you have
live
it,
right
you know, write them. You got to write them up. That's your language.
now. Usually we say the discussion took place because there's no action today.
Okay.
He wants the meat and potatoes, but I'm looking to you, and I'm stepping into this for this group. Do you want to have a meeting like we did back in, I think it was September?
Yeah.
I'd probably call it. I'm thinking.
It would have to be.
I'm talking to the county attorney and seeing if he can put something that's
Look at calendar
drafted
here.
up for the two groups.
Our next one would be on the 15th.
Yeah.
So we had it next week sometime.
Somebody want to just follow up with me? I mean,
You know, you want to come down to Warren or?
I'll go wherever you like. I don't get that. I've never been to your offices. So.
I grew up about 2 blocks away from your office. So.
No kidding.
Since
In
he took
Warren?
that off the
Yes,
board, we
no
don't get
kidding.
much Marshall County representation. He was our 6th. He was Marshall County District 6th commissioner.
We'll get Jason and his wife are in the medical stuff right now, so we'll just have to see how that turns out here, and then I'll have him get in touch with you after the 4th.
Sure.
Okay.
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 Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Drug task force has moved to Crookston.
What's that? Oh,
It got moved to Crookston.
oh,
So,
okay.
I mean,
We should be getting an agenda on that, I'm sure.
yeah, there's an email.
That's what he said.
But just,
Oh, good. All right. Well,
Have a good day, guys.
let's travel.
Thanks for coming down.
well, mm,
Jake's in town. Looks like I'm staying. Hey, thanks.
yep. Okay, what do you have?
Well, budget status, next Tuesday is our department head meeting, and we've got Questica on the agenda. The Abdo consultant, it's not a net, it's one of their staff people who has worked with Questica before, is the plan is to have it rolled out so that the department heads can see it. Discussion yesterday was the budget input could start next Thursday, so that's the plan. But when they roll it out next week, the personnel data should be already pulled from Kronos and put into Questica. It means the department heads don't have to calculate everybody's wages, everybody's steps, everybody's longevity, all that kind of stuff. That it should get pulled, and if we can automate that, we've just probably saved everybody about 40% of their time, and then we can kind of catch up with where we normally are, because we're it's next month, August 7th and 8th, that we've got the finance administrator initial meetings here in this room, and then we're only talking 6 weeks after that, this board. So it's going to gear up here very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have anything for today?
It's enough.
Thank you.
Hey, I mean, we're finishing ahead of our, the time that Chuck was scheduled for, so we're doing good. Okay, well then, nothing else, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a good 4th, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.